call the meeting to order with a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, please, Carrie.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Ms. Ross?
Here.
Mr. Wall?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Mr. Wessels? Ms. Witt?
Here.
Okay. Citizens' comments. I don't see anyone I don't know here. So Joe Redmond had reached out with concerns about traffic on Old Madison. Does not look like he's here, since again, I don't see anyone I don't recognize. So at this point, if he shows up, we'll add him. Is there anyone else here who's not on the agenda that wants to address council? All right. Then we will jump right into it. And let's see here. Sorry, got a little bit of a glitch. I have the old agenda. So Judge, why don't we just go ahead and bring you up and let you get out of here? I know you're going to want to sit and listen to all of the interesting things happening in Fort Wright for the next 4 or 5 hours, but I thought you might have something else to do.
I'd love to, but Lisa has chili waiting, so I'm...
Understood. So
We all wanna go for
let me
chili.
make a quick introduction, just for anyone watching at home that doesn't know. With us this evening, Chris Nalkelman, Kenton County Judge Executive. He's here to give us an update, and we thank him profusely here in a moment for his help personally and the county's help with the Weiler development, but we'll get to that in a moment. So with that, Judge, if you'd like to proceed, please do.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and council members, appreciate the time. Really, my purpose this evening is just to take a few minutes, and feel free to grab the hook and when you're done listening to me. Just really a few updates going on around the county, some of which many of you have probably heard on for some time and others may have not. So it's an opportunity just to get an overview. Obviously I serve you on a daily basis as Judge Executive, and some things directly affect the city, some things are tangential, but we want to make sure you're aware and they're able to ask questions. And as always, please reach out to me, anybody on the court, of course, and our team. So we're going to run through a number of items from dispatch to, and then we'll talk about briefly about our redevelopment efforts and that kind of thing. First off, I want to just talk about where we are with our consolidated dispatch operation in Kenton County. As you know, we consolidated that now a number of years ago. That's running well. We're always looking for that staff to be added to because it's one of the toughest jobs in public service and in public safety, I should say. So the operation out there is ably run by Ashley Hawks, long-term dispatcher and her team. But a few points to that, one of which is we have joined Code Red in 2017. We encourage you and your residents to log in so that as they get, if there's calls and things of that nature, you basically log into your home and your information. So if there's issues going on in the community, are able to quickly contact residents and businesses in the event of an emergency you're in that area. Code Red. Go onto the Kenton County website, and it's pretty apparent how to log on and register. As you know, we upgraded our regional radio system a couple of years ago that all 3 counties, all police departments, all fire departments, EMS, all use the same radio system. And that's been a huge success. It's not always perfect. We have a great team that actually backs up your chief and your chiefs and their departments. What does that mean to you? Well, it's elevated public safety, so you guys are safer, the public gets quicker service, and in the end, saved a ton of money by doing it together that all 3 counties have done it. But what backs that up, and some new updated news is, we have been using a CAD system, upgraded that as well for all the cities and all of our cities who are part of the dispatch operation, which everybody is, and working with our dispatchers. Well, now Campbell County is using the same system. So what does that mean to you all? Well, if there's ever a time where interagencies are working together, which it happens every day, the dispatchers from both counties can back each other up, see where all the police equipment, fire equipment is out in the community to make sure that we're elevating safety. The other news is Boone County is also coming on board. So all 3 counties will have the same CAD system, which is saving money and really increasing public safety, unlike we've ever had. Boone will be coming on in the next 18 months. They're building a new facility that'll house a lot of this stuff, so pretty exciting. One last note, you may not be aware, within our county dispatch system, the way we've funded it, is that all three, or our entire system, all the MDTs that the fire departments, police departments use, the computer terminals, that's all built into the budget. So reason why you don't see it on your annual budget for the city is because it's all included in the model that we fund that. And also what that does is we make sure that the most up-to-date technology is what's in the hands of the emergency management or the emergency crews, public safety crews, and you don't have to debate that this year. Do we delay that technology and whatever? And I know the mayor has no idea what's going on with technology, but we take that burden off his back.
I am a clueless buffoon, Luddite, and still use a quill pen and papyrus.
That's what I thought. Moving off of what is a quick data point, the city of Fort Wright generated about 7,600 calls to 911 last year, which is about 3% of the total police department related volume. So what does that matter? Well, it's good that we're doing this together because you have a highly trained department and team backing up your professionals locally. Which to that end is you guys have great police department, great fire department. In our police department, we're there to back up. So that's when crime scene investigation, of course, or crime investigation teams, accident reconstruction, and then the most sad that we do provide for the whole county is crimes against children, we have experts who deal with that daily. Horrific that we have to do that, but that is something we are able to provide as a countywide support team. And then if people do get arrested, which we have just down the hill, the detention center that is ably run by Mark Fields, and Mark continues to really manage the population there to make sure that those who need to be locked up do and are, and then those who need to get back to work, and whether it be in home incarceration or they're wearing ankles or the monitors, that they're able to get out and serve their families and pay taxes and then make sure that they're doing the right thing. We also, as you may also know, we continue to really have a national model on the drug treatment model and make sure that if people are in jail, there are addiction issues, that they're either getting the treatment they need with other partners or within the four walls of the jail. And we've got great partnerships with the Life Learning Center and a number of other agencies, transitions, et cetera. And we're going to continue those things because in the end they make for a safer community, reduce cost of detention, as well as making sure that those who need some additional leg up and help, they're going to get it and be held accountable to those as well. As you know, Steve Hensley continues to run the emergency management team, which is there to support your all's operations in disasters that might hit our community, and always as a backup to the team you have. In addition, we're the Public Works, our team, we also, everything we buy as a county, whether it be salt or whether it be road equipment or whatever, if it's not a state program, we've got a county program that the cities can all buy into, because every single contract we sign articulates that cities can buy on those programs. And that's an individual choice of your leadership team, but it's always there to support public works efforts, whether it be buying blacktop or anything. And we should always be, and if it's ever not, let me know. But our team is instructed that stay out of the way if cities don't need us. If the cities need help and we need equipment or we need resources, we're there to back it up and to be there. So unique opportunity for Kenton County to help. Jumping on a couple of the big projects that we have working on, one of which is the Spark House, which is the entrepreneurship hub for Northern Kentucky, housed in our county at the old Sims Furniture Building there at 7th and Madison. If you haven't had a chance to come and see that building, stop in, take a look. If you go and you want to give me a heads up, we'll make sure someone's there that's able to give you a tour. Why do you care? The whole effort there is to combine people who are starting and growing businesses to connect with services as well as funders, so that they have space that is either both flexible lease terms and legal flexible lease space. We've got everything for people who can just be in the space. They can rent a desk, they can rent offices, and it's been an unbelievably big success. So over a $16 million project. We have and it's been a county project as well to run this with the Port Authority of Northern Kentucky and Blue North, the entrepreneurship organization that runs entrepreneurship and helps. But we've a $16 million project that I'm about $200,000 from rate funding it in full. What that also means is you as a resident of Kenton County own that building. So it's owned by the port, that is owned by the region. So it is an awesome asset that will continue to help support businesses, not provide jobs, but help opportunities to make jobs in the community. It's a beautiful building and something we're really proud of. All leased up, by the way. The private offices are leased, over 350 members, and about 85% of the desks are leased. If you ever go down there, I was there this morning for a quick meeting, with another related issue, and there were hundreds of people moving just alone in one morning for about an hour.
Judge, can I comment on that real quick?
Sure.
If you all haven't been there, I'd encourage you to check it out. It's a pretty cool building inside. And I don't want to put you on the spot because you may not know this offhand, but if it's primarily full, I'm guessing that is also potentially throwing off a good amount of tax revenue for Kenton County as well with the jobs that's been created there. Do you have any idea what that might look like?
Well, on an annual basis for payroll tax, it will generate, if it's 30,000, 50,000, because remembering just out of those individuals who are working there.
Yeah,
only,
startups and stuff,
They
I
might be
get
a
it.
couple of people.
Yeah.
The idea is to get them to be there for like a year and a half and then get out, go to their own spaces.
And come to Fort Wright, where we have one of the lowest payroll taxes in Kenton County. Have I mentioned that? See, they can
Never heard you
move
say
right up the road to Fort Wright, take advantage of those low property and payroll taxes, Judge. I love it. I love it. This is fantastic. Please continue.
And I would add to that, Mayor, one, we want them to have their businesses here and their employees. We also want to figure out a place if they're making something or building something. We want them to do that first. I would love to have them do it in Kenton County, but at least do it in Northern Kentucky.
On a related note, I'm sure you've seen this, but I don't know if council or the folks watching from home have. I saw the announcement from Ready that the Greater Cincinnati Metro has once again come in at the top of places to locate sites and so forth. So again,
We just need more of them, that's
Yeah.
what it is, yeah. So that's Spark House. Don't be shy to go down and visit.
It's cool.
So, a big one as well, which we're finalizing literally as I was sitting here on some stuff. So the new UK School of Medicine, Chase Law School, will be coming to Covington. The site across from River Center, that parking lot is where it'll go. That is going to be a port-owned building. Both universities will manage their own space within it. 6, 7, 8 stories that'll be on that site with a parking garage below it. It'll have a garden and a park kind of above it. It'll be used by the students and the public. Just an exciting thing for the region in Northern Kentucky to grow. They have the space, the urban ideas for this level of education, and some people have wondered, why would you want medical school and law school students to be in the urban core? Oftentimes, that population has a different schedule than undergrad students, as well as they want to grow, and this is a great model by which the state has tasked Northern Kentucky, in particular Kenton County and the port, to build this building. So we hope to break ground sometime here in the summer. Another one, which I will also touch on, is our new county park. You may have heard of this a little bit. When we shut down Fox Run Golf Course, that 225 acres will now become a county park. If the website shows some preliminary designs, a wonderful Fort Wright guy from this area, Gary Walnitzak, has helped design that whole project. He and his team have just been unbelievably creative without being crazy, but it's going to have some really neat things. If you've ever been out there, it's very hilly. If you golfed it, it was not quite as hilly as Davoo, but pretty darn hilly. But at that 225 acres, there'll be trails, walking, both accessible trails. There will be some pickleball. I get it, pickleball nowadays. But there will be everything from, organized areas, not really ball fields and that kind of thing, but it will be spaces together with small groups. There'll be some canopy walks. What does that mean? You'll be able to walk up into the trees a bit. We have a program right now we're doing with Go Ape, so there'll be some climbing walls, some rope courses, and there will also be towards the top of the area, Ridge 3, up towards the other existing courses, some meadows that you'll be able to walk around, take some quiet space. It'll be a little more quiet up in those areas. There's a couple of shelters as well, and so it's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be a legacy thing for the county. I think it'll be something that doesn't exist presently in Northern Kentucky, and then figuring out where the gaps are to help make sure that families have a place to go on, get off their cell phones, and enjoy each other's company, and maybe just enjoy our community. But it'll be pretty
you
neat.
should put a cell phone jammer in there.
Well, the
It
hills
might
are-
be illegal, but if you could just jam the signal across the whole park,
except for safety issues that the chief would like to make sure we resolve.
You could put some emergency call
We
boxes.
we will have that, and it's funny, because got there walking now, and you actually do get disconnected, and then we have signs that just help you get out, make sure you can get out of the place. But it's going to be something that, it was interesting, and you guys know that, and I'm going to speak to this in a second, leads right into the other comment. We've been so fortunate the past number of years to have John Drow and Beth Sewell, and of course your very own Joni Neighbor on the court.
My favorite mayor.
And he's my favorite
Truly.
too, sorry. Dave, but, this has been something all three of them have said, Chris, get this done. And so when dirt moves, and it'll be about a 2-year project to get that open here in about, would be June of '28 to have it finished. Something I think we'll all be proud of, and hopefully have kids, grandkids, and hopefully we can all get out there and enjoy it. Lastly, as you know, the redevelopment effort and the site, both site development and redevelopment funds. You know, you all are very nice to say some nice things about me, but really, 110% of the partnership of how do we have funds help to move sites along, like the Days Inn and others in the county. We've partnered with Independence, Erlanger, Covington, of course, you all at Fort Wright. And we really, in Fort Mitchell, also, things that you look at something that can be done, and there's this little piece that just takes a little bit of partnership and effort to get it to move the ball. And so when Senator McDaniel, a year and a half or so ago, was asking about how can we really move the ball on some of these things in northern Kentucky and Kenton County, and we said we need some redevelopment money and we need site development money, because we're not going to go spend certain dollar amounts when local taxes, or how do you manage that when you're taking dollars that someone had to go earn, and this is Joe Nienaber in my head, when someone had to go earn that money and we have to spend it, we need to spend it very responsibly. But the beauty of this is that when the state, Senator McDaniel is the key, who brought these dollars to Kenton County and said, you guys go deploy it in a meaningful way. And so, you all have seen it firsthand, that sometimes you just need to make an investment that says we're going to move the whole community forward. But more in particular, I'll give you the example we partnered with Fort Mitchell on, is there was a huge storm drain coming through the old drawbridge site that was really impacting all of the whole neighborhood across from Comparosa back in there, and how it drains out towards the expressway. Well, who's responsible for that? The site, but the site people say, I'm not going to do anything with it, and it's going to sit there for a long time with a problem. Well, we were able to invest $1 million in that, and that helped fix hundreds and hundreds of home storm issues that were going to be impacting for the next 30 years. Well, those dollars just aren't sitting on people's shelves to go do, so we were able to partner. So again, without Chris McDaniel, without the commissioners and 3 commissioners who've really committed to facilitating, helping on these projects, none of this stuff happens. So again, I would even ask it, it's not really Chris Knockelman, it's the 3 commissioners, Senator McDaniel, and really partnering to get that stuff done. So with that, I'll be quiet, and I'm sure I've talked too long, but if there's any questions on any of these topics, would be happy to.
I have a couple of comments, and I want to elaborate a little on the Weiler thing, but I also want to give you all a chance, if you have something he mentioned prior to Weiler that you want to ask about, by all means, jump in there.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Mayor, can I tell you one more thing?
Yeah, please do.
It's not on the sheet, but it is something you guys drive by all the time. So behind the county administration building, you've seen a lot of construction. I don't think I've seen you guys since that is all going on. We built a parking garage behind the building, so it was 250 car parking garage. That came about because the state, with the new bridge, was taking all of our parking underneath the expressway. We had a long-term, I think it was a 100-year lease there, and so instead of getting into battles, the state came to us and said, what we'll do is we'll give you a certain dollar amount, and we want you to build a parking garage behind the building. Well, what I said was, great, thank you. That's a great solution, right? I mean, we need it. But what we did was, because I didn't want to see the parking garage empty at 5 o'clock and then be a huge asset that came really from federal money to put this garage in. What can we do to make sure that's activated? So we came to a partnership between Maris, which used to be it's Dan Rue and Nair, along with Urban Sites. So we have a partnership there that will build a 125-unit apartment complex on top of it. So if you drive down there now, you'll see they're now coming up with the stairwell and elevator shafts, and there will be a 5-story apartment building, market rates, at the entrance to Covington. And what that does for us is a couple things. To me, it's a great use of the partnership with the federal money that came to give us a parking garage, 250 car. Then have the something after 5 p.m. and all weekend, lets people live there. We all know we need housing, right? It just we need them of all types. But this allows individuals who want to park there or live there, can park in the garage. And people say, well, what about being too many cars? I said, that's a wonderful problem to have. If we have We haven't, we don't even have a third of the garage open, and there's still 70 spots a day open. So people will be able to live there. You can go down. We're going to work out the back door so you can still get in the back door. It's not needed today, but what that did is shove all the employees into the garage. That entire parking lot out front is now 100% for public. It's free. So it's a great solution, I think, in the end. Again, partnership. So I'll be quiet. Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure you knew about it.
Council, questions for Judge Knuckleman?
Judge, you mentioned the dispatch. You said we have over 7,000 calls here. How many does the county have in a year?
You're going to ask me that, wouldn't you?
I just thought I'd ask.
Well, let's see.
You know,
it's
the
a math
appropriate
problem.
answer is, I'll get back to you on that.
I just didn't know if you knew a roundabout number. I mean,
Yeah, I'll do the math real quick. You're talking about over 250,000 calls.
really?
Yeah. And we know the urban cities are the primary ones, but they also do take calls for, of course, animal control and a lot of things, just even, but the overall amount of calls that come in that they manage is unreal. If you ever want to do that, Ashley would let you sit in and listen to, we got the fire channels, we got the police channels, and that team continues to just do amazing work. Always trying to hire more and train more, but it's no disrespect to Boone and Campbell, but we've got the best dispatch operation in northern Kentucky.
It's a tough
period.
job.
Yeah, it is tough.
Other questions for the judge? So I have a few things.
I got a couple things. First of all, thank you and the fiscal court for helping Fort Wright out with the Dixie Highway project. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm just gonna just put these in the back of your head, nothing to do right now, but with the expressway coming through, the way that the bridge over Kyle's Lane was designed, there's no emergency lanes on that. So we brought that to their attention. We haven't got anything back from them yet, but we may get to there at some point. The second thing is that people who come out of Kyle's Lane who want to go down the hill, they got to cross the traffic, and in the morning they can't do that because there's just people. So what we looked at was in one of those roundabouts to put an extra little turn in there that people can go that way, hit that and come back down the hill and make it much easier for those people to get out. So again, it's nothing we got to work on. I'm just giving you a heads up.
Sure, and I'm happy to advocate. On the second idea, I've talked to them briefly about the prior, but yeah, well, I'll follow up on the second.
Okay, cool.
And we can put it in writing for you.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, and then the final thing was that we still trying to get downstate to help us out to get in northern Kentucky. It doesn't have to be here. It could be in Boone County, whatever. A training facility for new police officers. Okay, that's it. And thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Appreciate
they're
it.
on our project. That for sure is on the project list
Okay.
of how to get that accomplished. Yep, indeed.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Jill had a question, and then again, I have a few questions and comments, and I'll let you get out of here, Judge.
So, just briefly about Parks and Recreation. So, I love parks. I think they're amazing. I think Northern Kentucky has some really nice ones. Unfortunately, when my children were younger, we spent a lot of time over in Hamilton County and their park system because they have some really innovative and different types of parks, which we enjoyed. One of the things that through my career I realized, and I assume it is still the same, is that in Kentucky, groups, whether they be individuals or corporations, could not make a true donation to a governmental agency and receive a tax benefit because it wasn't a 501c3 organization. They really weren't getting the benefit. Is that incorrect? Because I know
Yeah, you get a tax deduction if you
if
write a
you
check
make
to
it
the county.
to a local government?
Sure.
Okay, because I had been told previously that was not the case.
John's got you back there.
And yeah, good timing with John.
He's like, hold on, let me get on the microphone.
In my former career, we were looking at constantly at trying to create a 501c3 organization, and I would love to see some sort of regional opportunity where people really could donate to parks in Kenton County and really see some investment for future growth. Parks are very expensive, and really nice parks are black holes, unfortunately. So, and Human Nature, great job with them. They do amazing work. I'm sure the golf course is going to be tremendous. So.
I think, and I do believe you can make that contribution, and we've talked to different foundations. It's interesting, Hamilton County's funding model is totally different. And then I think that, the Dura Foundation, the Hale Foundation, those have all been very generous. And they could make $1 million check here or there, and it still doesn't come nearly enough to take care of some of the parks. And you guys know what stuff costs. And generally, we are a little underparked in Kenton, or Northern Kentucky in general. If you take the golf courses out and just have green space for people to get to. I did the same thing back in the years. If you just wanted to take a nice, a nice walk with family, that was before the some of the DeVue trails and other things. I was like, well, I'm going to Hamilton County, maybe some in Boone.
And there's been a lot of change. I mean, my kids are much older now, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you still want to get out, right? Especially nowadays. But just get away from the world. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks for coming, Judge. I want to start with the bridge since Jay brought it up. We haven't heard anything. It's been some time. I'm not sure if you've heard anything. I was actually planning to reach out to them today, and then I got distracted by a shiny object and did not. Because it's been several months since we kind of had our last round of feedback with them, probably 3-4 months, maybe more. But what are you hearing, if anything?
The same, a little bit of the same. I've got a meeting on Friday, so I will tell you that I think they're starting with certain of us, and at that time, I'll basically talk to them and see what the schedule is for everybody else and push. I know that what I've also known is that cost escalation has been a challenge, and so they're having to figure out what they shrink, what they don't do, what they do, and as they kind of expected, but anytime that anything that big is out there and they're trying to figure out, as they're doing a lot of the preliminary work from utilities coming up and down the bottom of the hill. You see the big new poles and all those things that they're working through. But I will commit to you that after Friday afternoon, I think meetings like at noon or 1, I'll follow up and let you know.
All right, just a couple more things then. I appreciate your guys' activity on your social media. I encourage everyone to follow Kenton County so you can learn about a lot of the things the judge is talking about here. And 2 things in particular I just wanted to bring attention to because I think, A, they're worthwhile, and B, I appreciate the fact that you guys are doing it on our behalf. I love the road tracker thing that you all put together. We've tried to share that. In fact, I'm going to go on record and say I bet no city shares your stuff more than us. But that said, for folks out there watching and haven't seen it, and you can correct me if I don't get this quite right, Judge, Road Tracker is a tool they built, an online tool, so you can understand any road in Kenton County, who is responsible for maintaining it. Is it a private road? Is it maintained by a city? Is it maintained by the county? And one of the reasons why I think it's really valuable for Fort Wright is we have a lot of state roads. We have not too many county roads anymore, city-maintained roads. We have some private roads in Fort Wright. People will call here, send me email, call Jill, talk to someone on council and complain about a road. We have an enormous amount of state roads inside the city limits of Fort Wright. Dixie Highway, Kyles Lane, 17, Sleepy Hollow. A lot of roads that are not obviously state roads, even though they have the markers. So I think it's a really valuable tool for people. Again, if you're out there and you're like, hey, who is the buffoon that maintains this road? Yes, it might be me, but it might not. And you can use this awesome tool that Kenton County put together to understand that. So kudos on that. I wanted to get the word out about that. Also, the cleanup day you guys do, I think, is awesome. I know that's coming up. I recently, I think today, shared that through our channels. So I encourage people, if you have large household items, and you got to look at the county's list, but I mean, they'll take virtually anything. It's an awesome service. You want to get rid of some old mattresses, some old stuff, you can take it out there. They'll take it for free. So I appreciate you guys doing that. I wanted to get the word out about that. Again, it's all out on their social media, and we're sharing it. And then 2 last things. One, you and I have not discussed this. I went down to Frankfurt and talked to some reps down there. We're concerned, and we have a long list of resolutions and so forth we're probably going to pass tonight, as well as some letters that council authorized me to send about a lot of the tax-related initiatives that seem to be taking place down in Frankfurt. But in particular, the one that's really got me twisted is House Bill 75, this property tax thing, right? Now, I know, and I want to take a second to thank you and the commissioners. I think you guys have done an amazing job with tax rates. I know they're the lowest they've been in a long time, just like us. Our tax rates have continued to go down. They're the lowest they've been since 2008, despite increasing headcounts, increasing services, and so forth. So it's not like we've cut the services we're providing. We've just been very blessed to have a great business tax base that's growing and providing this increasing revenue, as well as the increased property values. I pay taxes too, just like everyone out there, right? I wish I got some sort of tax exemption because, I'm just raking off 7 large here doing this fun job every day. But I got to pay my taxes too. I don't want to pay any more than anyone else, but I also understand that, Chief Caldwell, if we called you tomorrow and said, hey, we'd love for you to show up for work, but we can't pay you anymore, I'm guessing you think long and hard about strapping on that belt and doing that difficult and dangerous job. Now, Chief Shuey, I know you on the other hand, because you just can't get enough of this joint. You'd be here, you'd probably be doing his job too, and probably throw Jeff out and just say, let me run the whole damn place. But on a serious note, you know, ambulances cost money. Streets don't get fixed on their own. We have a very small staff here. I like to remind people all the time, 13 police officers, and I'm going to get in, you'll see how these numbers matter. 3 people in the Public Works Department, 3 people in the admin department. We don't have a lot of overhead here, but it costs a lot to operate the city and provide the services that I believe, because I don't have anyone telling me otherwise, that our residents expect and deserve. My long-winded point, Judge, is we ran some preliminary numbers, and if that bill were to pass in 2008 using today's values, it would shave $1.1 million approximately out of our budget. 65% of our property tax would evaporate overnight, and that's about 15% of our total budget. So where is that money supposed to come from? Now, some told me, well, sales tax. Well, as you know, we can't charge a sales tax, but even if we could, that would be spectacular for Fort Wright. The Walmart and all the other retail here, we'd be probably printing money and could probably eliminate all our other taxes. However, how does Bromley survive? Now, that's not necessarily my concern. Lakeside Park, where does their sales tax come from? So when I hear people tell me, these taxes, I get all the arguments for it, but so we're just supposed to cut 15 to 20% of our operations? And speaking for myself, as a person that lives here and pays taxes, not the mayor, I don't want to cut 20% of our services. I think we're providing kind of the bare minimum to begin with here, and I don't want to cut it. So where is the money supposed to come from? Now, I've heard the bill doesn't really have any support, but I'm just curious to get your perspective on it, because obviously it would put a gigantic dent in the county's budget as well.
Everything you just said, I would totally agree with. Secondarily, I will tell you that we're now at the lowest rate in Kenton County on property tax since 1983. Now, to be transparent.
Kudos to the Kenton County Fiscal Court.
And the thing is, I was trying to be, what's overused term is transparent. If we were not able to get our budget balanced a couple of years ago, where we had occupational and property, we would be doomed today. Because we figured it out. Number one, you can't live on just property tax. It will bury I think it'll bury any community long term, even those who just don't have any occupational or any jobs in their community. Eventually, with the way the laws work, and if you're trying to provide services, even at a bare minimum, I think it'll bury you. In fact, actually, Ralph Dries, I worked with for many years, he told me years ago, he said, Chris, here's the deal. Even if you take 4% a year, we are still going to go broke, and I don't think there's anything else you can do about it, but good luck. It's almost a quote from Ralph. And probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my lifetime. And so what we were able to do is figure out how to get more of the balance on occupational, because about 70% of those individuals who work in Kenton don't live here. So it made this huge burden of individuals who are paying property tax take care of all the burden, and you get services for those who are coming in and out of the county who don't have to pay for it. And I know you've got that very similar thing, is that not everybody who works here lives here, and it's just about balance. But you're right, exactly right. And if in the grand scheme of all tax reform, sure, talk about. But yeah, it would destroy so many local governments and services provided. It's not a good idea. It's a lot of talk. It's a good idea to say it, but it doesn't work with the present.
Yeah, there's still, like the laws of physics, there's still this thing called math. Right? Absolutely. And if you use math, I know that's a foreign concept to many, apparently. If you use math, it does not work. And again, I've been on record since I've been here. You can look at our track record. We have consistently held our cut taxes for the last 15 plus years, right? Again, our tax rate is the lowest it's been since 2008. And to some extent, again, it's because we are super blessed to have a thriving business community here, which is going to segue into my final point perfectly. To offset the burden on the property owners that live here. But if you just somehow again, we did a preliminary estimate, right? Just kind of threw some numbers together with a cursory glance at this. We can't afford to cut $1 million out. And I encourage anyone that's out there that's listening that thinks, oh yeah, it would be so great if I didn't have to pay my property tax. I would like for you to come up here and sit down with me at your convenience and show me where we're wasting money. And if you can't do that, then tell me what you want cut. Do you not want your streets fixed? Do you not want the police to show up? Would you like to not have ambulances? Show me where you want to cut that. okay? Because the math does not work, in my opinion. So I appreciate your insight on that, Judge. And I'm hoping that you guys in the county will be pushing back against that as well, so. Okay, and then my last point, again, I want to express my thanks, and obviously council can speak for themselves, for your help specifically. I mean, again, kudos to Senator McDaniel. Obviously, he is a huge asset for the region, has always been a friend of the city of Fort Wright. I'm a big fan of Senator McDaniel, and I know that this wouldn't have happened without his intervention to get these state funds. And yeah, definitely want to thank all the commissioners, Commissioner Drought, Commissioner Sewell, certainly Commissioner Nienaber, he was instrumental in this as well, and former Mayor Nienaber, again, my favorite mayor, Joe, if you're out there. But seriously, I mean, you know, you put a lot of time and energy into this. I worked closely with you on this and the Weiler family to put this deal together. I appreciate your interest in it. I appreciate your vision to see how this could be a real game changer, not just for Fort Wright, but even Fort Mitchell on the border there, and then just the community, right? Because that's sort of a gateway area there. And I just want to throw a few finer points in for folks, and if you have anything else you want to add, Judge or Council. So, you know, so I've been here now 25 years between my terms on council and the insane amount of time I've spent doing this ridiculous job. And, you know, I don't think there are too many people that have lived in or around Fort Wright that have not realized that the former Ramada, now days in, now defunct, has been, let's just call it, an underperforming property, right? I'm sure if he were here tonight, Mayor Nienaber would tell you we had a lot of problems there. He kind of made it a project, and we also then had the other days in, which was even more problematic back in those times. Thank God that's been gone for a long time, where the Infinity is sited now, or the former Infinity is sited. Since I've been here, and for those of you that have been around for a long time, how long have we been working to try to do some kind of redevelopment there? I mean, yeah, as long as anyone can remember. So, you know, this all came about because of folks like you who had an interest in trying to elevate the community. You know, connections were made with the Weiler family. A lot of people don't realize the Mercedes dealership is part of the Weiler family of dealerships, okay? Also, a lot of people don't realize that Sprinter dealership they operated out of there is the #1 Sprinter dealership in the United States. That's why you see so many white Sprinter vans all throughout this area. They're moving an amazing amount of Sprinters there. And I also want to say huge kudos to David Weiler and his whole team. I mean, they have been great to work with from the beginning. They kind of bent over backwards to put this deal together with you and with us. But really, it couldn't have happened without your intervention, without the county's help, without the county's funding to make this happen, right? I mean, the owner of the hotel wanted an exorbitant amount of money for it. It was difficult to pry that loose. And while, in my opinion, even if the hotel wouldn't have been part of the end game, you know, the Infinity dealership basically went out of business. They bought that. The Atlas building is not the most aesthetically pleasing building in the world and was not producing a lot for the city. But, you know, even if it had just been that, but the fact that we could get the hotel encompassed in this whole package, and when it's all said and done, the hotel is no longer operating, but will be gone. The building will be demolished. It's unsightly. I have some stats I'm going to share here in a second, but that is such a huge win for the city of Fort Wright and the entire Northern Kentucky community. I mean, I just can't stress enough. In my opinion, if just that went away and nothing else happened there, this would still be an enormous, enormous win for the city of Fort Wright and the Kenton County community. So just to put a few finer points on it, because, you know, this went through a formal vetting process to get the money from the state through the county. The Weiler team had to put together all kinds of economic numbers and so forth to qualify for the funding here. And so using the numbers they supplied as part of the vetting process to make this deal happen, I'm just reading off the document they supplied. This is public record. Anyone can have it if they want it. Using Mercedes-Benz Fort Mitchell as a guide, the anticipated economic impact of the city of Fort Wright and Kenton County is at a minimum shown in this table. So they're using information from the Mercedes dealer there, right? And they haven't announced their final plan. I can't really share a whole lot more than what I'm going to say here tonight. But they have 125 employees that work out of that Mercedes-Benz site. 125 employees. That's real jobs. Trades jobs. We keep talking about trades. I'm a huge fan of trades. Lots of trade jobs. Lots of high-paying jobs. So, this again, I'm using their numbers, public record. Look it up for yourself, folks. Kentucky 2025 wages year to date, $9,170,000 in wages paid out of that dealership down there. Okay, Fort Mitchell taxes withheld to date, $114,632. That like pays for one person with overhead here on our staff, right? It's real money. It's a real contribution. Kenton County wages, well, Kenton County wages the same as the state, and Kenton County taxes, $53,000. So there's roughly $160,000 in taxes that came out of that, 125 jobs created there. And when it's all said and done, the hotel is not only gone, but will be physically gone. The old Tumbleweed will be physically gone. That whole site will be redeveloped. And my last 2 points, because council had the vision in light of this whole thing to apply for an OKI grant, we're going to see a whole bunch, in addition to the site aesthetic improvements, we're going to see a whole bunch of aesthetic improvements there, a new sidewalk going in down in front of the Christ Hospital site. I mean, when this is all said and done, it's going to look 1,000 times better. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create new tax revenue. It's going to create a lot of new opportunities. And I just wanted to share one final point, Judge. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I had Chief Caldwell just do some preliminary digging to see what a problem the hotel was there. Now, I also want to tell people, when we had our annual Christmas luncheon over at the Civic Club, and we had a whole room full of people, when we made this public announcement, and several council members were there and can verify this is true, every single member of the police department that was in attendance stood up and actually cheered when they heard that the hotel was going away. Okay, so I'm going to give you some stats here. I lost my window, sorry. Got a little excited. Sometimes I do that, you know. Get a little out of shape. That's why I shouldn't have cut the booze off for Lent. Let's see here. Well, there we go. So Chief Caldwell pulled the numbers from dispatch that he could get quickly, right? And so from 3/2/2013 through today, 4,705 calls went to that hotel. That's roughly 1 call per day if you look at the number of days within that time frame, or roughly 2.4% of all the calls our police department handles, which, by the way, is one of the busiest police departments in Kenton County, went to that hotel, just that one site. So anyone that wants to tell me it's not a win to get rid of that hotel, please don't vote for me, okay? That's all I'm saying. Don't vote for me, and feel free to move on out of Fort Wright if you think it's not a win to get rid of that hotel. We'll have some more information on the police calls because it's quite fascinating. You know, many arrest warrants. That place has been a blight, an eyesore, and a problem for the safety of the residents of Fort Wright, for the safety of the police department, for the safety of the other people staying there for decades. And I can't say thank you enough for all the work that you personally put into this and the fiscal court put into this. It's a great day to see that place gone. And I think when this is all said and done, it'll be a beautiful site. It'll be creating new jobs. It'll be creating economic development opportunity for the whole region. And it will look a heck of a lot better than it does now. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Just doing my job, but I think the point you make, what came out of it, Mayor, is that, you know, sometimes you just got to have trust in each other. You got to work with each other, cooperate, and seize opportunities when they present themselves. You know, and that's the feeling I've gotten on this one in particular. Sometimes we all push, we try. Sometimes you just got to take a little risk and walk through the door when the opportunity exists. So thanks all. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate your time. Go eat your chili.
Thank you. Mayor, I might have mentioned this.
I've got myself all fired up now. Go ahead.
One of the things that the chief just wasn't able to pull, and it would be very difficult, he'd have to do some handwork, but the number of violence and, you know, truly dangerous calls that they had to that hotel has been significant over the years. And, you know, I think you could probably, not here this evening, but attest to several calls that you attended. And
it's definitely been a burden on both police and fire, you know, over the years. And, you know, we're happy to see it go. And then now the discussion, I won't even say it, but
It is a shame that we're losing the Jerry Springer check writing hotel. I mean, you know, that almost deserves like a historical marker. Maybe I'll put into that Kentucky Historical Society and see if we can get a historical marker. This is the site where Jerry Springer wrote the check to the hooker.
very true.
I mean, that'd be a pretty nice addition up there, don't you think?
We also got to call into probation and parole to let them know that they can't let people
They can't let
live
their-
there anymore.
yeah, that was one of the biggest problems we had. As people were released from prison, they were getting cards to pay for housing, and that was one of their housing locations.
Well, one of the things that Jill told me today, and I wanted to ask you about this earlier, and I ran out of time. Apparently, when you guys were going through there, also, thank you to the Weiler Automotive family. Again, they have been unbelievable to work with on this. There were a lot of tight timelines, a lot of things had to happen to put all this together in the time frame we had to work with. One of the things they've offered up is to let the fire department and the police department use the site to do some training before it's ultimately demolished. But in going through it, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Caldwell, your team found like 200 Kentucky State IDs in a room down there.
It was, not just Kentucky, it was all over.
Okay.
It was passports, IDs,
So we don't know if they're making them or stealing them or,
they were real. I don't know how they got them, that's the thing, you know, when you check into a hotel, you don't give them your ID, right? So I don't know if, and I don't know that we'll ever know, I don't know if it was cleaning staff taking them from the rooms, I don't know how they were acquiring them, but it was literally a dresser that had a couple hundred state-issued IDs on top of it.
so again, I think this is just going to be a huge win when it's all said and done. There'll be more details forthcoming as they go through all the zoning processes and so forth. But frankly, it can't happen soon enough, in my opinion. And I also want to say thank you to council. You know, again, we had to take action fairly quickly on some of these things. I think you guys showed a lot of vision, like you always do. And I think in the long run, this is just going to be a huge win, not only for Fort Wright, but for this entire area. So thank you all. Appreciate your support and look forward to making that hotel building go away. I'm hoping maybe that they'll blow it up and I can get to push the plunger. I'm gonna call Nee Neighbor and we're gonna do it like they did in Covington. It'll be me and him holding each side of the plunger. Yeah? Boom. Okay, back to our regular order here. Yeah, so Joe Redmond, again, was on the agenda to speak about his concerns with traffic ingress and egress on Old Madison. He's not here. So with that, we will go to the minutes. And we have minutes from the February 4th, 2026 council meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the February 4th.
Motion by Weber, second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ross. Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Ms. Witt? Yes. Mr. Collins?
All right, motion carries. Another set of minutes from the February 18th caucus meeting. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Collins, second? Second by Ross. Any additional discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
I pass.
Ms. Witt? Yes.
Okay, I recommend that we amend the agenda and put John up next and move Steve down. I realize it's unfinished business, but, you know, to make sure Steve has time to present everything he needs to present, and because he actually works here and isn't probably trying to go home to his dinner or anything, I would propose that we amend the agenda and move John up one. Can I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Yes.
Weber, second. Collins? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Ms. Witt? Yes.
All right, thank you all. John, if you would, please. And this is John Chamberlain. He's from our auditing firm. We worked with John for the past several years for our regular financial audit. And as I like to say every year, I think this is one of the single most important things we do, because at the end of the day, without the money, none of this exists, right? The money is what makes all of this possible. The fixing of the roads, the capital infrastructure, the employees, the awesome team that we have here, it all requires the money. And, you know, I just want to go on record and say, I think protecting the money, which does not belong to me, does not belong to city council, yes, 1/6,000th of it roughly is mine, right? It belongs to us. We are protecting and shepherding our residents' resources, and this is a key part of that. So with that, John, if you would, tell us how we did.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's very good to see that you talked to Judge Knockelman all during his presentation as well. I've always felt really,
Doesn't every other mayor do
like
this?
it was just me that it was.
Well, I mean, I do like you a lot, John,
So I feel honored that she
in a
talked to
purely
us.
platonic way, just to be clear.
Good. Let's see. Where do I start? Well, first
trying
of
to
all,
throw you off.
First of all, thank you for mentioning the public trust, because you know, as a CPA firm, that's one of the things that we focus on. And I tell from the intern to every staff member, and I remind people of this regularly, that that's the most important thing that we do, is we protect the public trust. We live in an age of misinformation. We don't know what's real. We don't know what's true. And we do the best that we can to come into your city and to protect that public trust for our local institutions. You know, there may not be any way that we can do that in the federal government. The state government may not be far behind the federal government in that regards. But in our local governments, that's the one thing that we as local citizens have some amount of control over, and that we feel like that we can, that's the primary goal of my job every day, is what gets me up, is protecting the public trust of each one of my municipalities, my special districts that I perform audits for. So we really appreciate you putting that trust in our firm. I'll start off by thanking the mayor and Jill and Ben Harrison and your staff. They take good care of my staff when they're here. I like to say this, at every place we go, that we're pretty annoying. We ask for a lot of things, and we spend a lot of time here. And so we appreciate getting everything to us. I also want to put a special shout out to Ben Harrison. Ben's a CPA that helps close your books at the end of the year and does a lot of the accruals for us. That keeps us from having to do them, so it protects our independence. And Ben does a phenomenal job for the city and for the couple of cities that we have him work for. And he does a great job, and we really appreciate the work that he does. We have issued what's called an unmodified opinion. What that means is that after all of the audit work that we're required to do, we believe that the city's financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects with the generally accepted accounting principles in the United States, and that's the highest opinion that we give. So no modifications are required to be made to that opinion. As a part of every governmental audit, we do a review of internal controls. We want to make sure that your riskiest assets are protected. So we do a review of your cash controls, the revenues coming in the door, the disbursements that go out the door, your credit cards, and then also your reporting controls. So, and that really is what Ben does. And so we had no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control that we're required to report. As part of every governmental audit, we also review compliance. So this would be any type of debt compliance, compliance with expenditure of any federal funds, any agreement with Kentucky Revised Statutes that apply to municipalities, mainly 091A, KRS 091A. And so we had no significant issues. We had no issues, not even insignificant ones. We had no issues of non-compliance to report as well. We did provide a governance letter to the city council, and it provides just information. It's a letter that's required by our profession that we provide to you as the governing body. And we did in there note that we did make one adjustment to the general fund, and this is an adjustment that we've made across all of our municipalities that we audit. It's a little bit of a non-standard adjustment, and it has to do with the opioid fund receivable. We now know how much receivable the city's going to get long-term, and so we were able to make an adjustment of about $228,000 of opioid funds receivable, and then that's offset by a deferred revenue, which means it offsets on the balance sheet. You've received some of it in cash already, and that's, again, the offsetting amount setting in deferred revenue, so that when you do start to spend those funds on whatever the city has chosen to spend those funds on, and that is spelled out in that opioid settlement, what you can spend those funds on, then you will recognize those funds. You will budget those funds as revenue at that point and in expenditures in the same time. So that's important, Jill, that you make sure that you budget the revenue and the expenditure when you do
Yes,
expend
we've not decided what we're gonna use it on yet, so.
Right, exactly.
I thought we were gonna use it on opioids. Isn't that what it's for?
Yeah, it's
I guessed.
it's a settlement.
kid.
It's a settlement fund receivable, Mayor, not an opioid receivable.
Oh, bummer. Bummer. I thought that might cover my Lent,
You're-
my Lent usage.
Exactly. And then the mayor's favorite topic, we did make one planned adjustment to your government-wide statements to cover your SERS pension and OPEB or other post-employment benefit adjustments. Those are about a $236,000 gain in pension and a almost $340,000 gain in the OPEB. In other words, those pension liabilities are shrinking, and all the associated deferred outflows and deferred inflows that go along with that created net gains for the city.
I mean, the scam the pension board pulled on us, which I'll rant about in more detail here in a moment, still gets me fired up, but at least we're moving in the right direction.
That's correct.
We're moving in the right direction.
And that's coming in 2 slides, Mayor, so I'll ask you to wait on that one.
Yeah,
The next
you'll see
slide-
the vein in my forehead start bulging here in a second.
That's right. The next slide is your cash position. So the green is your cash and investment balance, the blue is your fund balance. So you see that almost all of your fund balance is held in cash. You have very little receivables of that kind. About $11 million in cash, about $116,000 increase from the prior year, and that cash position has been steadily increasing, as you can see. The Government Finance Officers Association, you can keep it on that last slide if you don't mind. Yeah, thank you. You're doing well. You're doing well. The Government Finance Officers Association, which is an association of city government finance officers, aptly named. Aptly named.
There it is, Margie.
So,
Did you get that, Kathleen?
So they recommend about 3 months of operating expenditures held in cash. And so for the city of Fort Wright, 3 months is about $1.89 million. You obviously have about $11 million in unrestricted cash. So you have right at 18 months of operating cash on hand. So you're in a very solid financial position as far as your cash is concerned. Now you can go to the next slide. So the yellow bars are your current liabilities, and those have remained small. Those just slightly lower here this year than last. That's what's currently due and payable at June 30th. The orange is your deferred revenue, and that's gone up. And last year you had about $164,000 for the ARPA funds that were deferred. You spent those this year. Now the higher number is for the about $340,000 of opioid funds. So that's deferred revenue that's sitting on your balance sheet as a placeholder for those opioid funds. Now, the mayor's favorite topic. The red is your net stay there.
I haven't ranted yet, Jeff.
The red is your net pension and OPEB liability at $8.075 million compared to about $8.8 million last year. And so just like with any pension fund, it's an investment account. And as that investment account increases, the unfunded portion of the liability decreases. So when you're in the stock market, obviously that it's invested in, is one of the most important legs of that actuarial calculation. And so as the market has increased in 23, 24, you see that your unfunded liability continues to drop. And then since this is measured at June 30th, 2024, so your liability is measured at 2024, for next year, we're assuming the liability will drop as well because the market performance in 25 was strong, just like 24 was. Mayor?
Okay. For those watching at home that don't follow this on a regular basis, do you recall offhand, John, what year it was when they came up with this sudden unfunded liability that was then proportionally shared to all the cities across Kentucky? Okay. So here's what I'm trying to say, folks. I tell people all the time, we have no long-term debt, right? We don't have any long-term debt except for this mysterious number that 10 years ago showed up on our books when the state of Kentucky said, gee, we have this, depending on who you ask, $30 to $60 billion hole in the pension account because we have wasted the money or whatever. I'll just let people.
Accounting Standards Board did it, not the state of Kentucky.
Okay.
I'll correct you there.
Well, thank you. But my point is, we had no long-term debt at the time, and then suddenly the state comes along and says, oh, wait a minute, or whomever comes along with the state, whoever has the authority to tell us we have to do that, and said, oh, here, you owe like $14 million, or whatever the number was at that time. And we're like, this is complete BS. And for those who are watching from home, and for those who've been around for a long time, we took a case all the way to the Kentucky Supreme Court over this BS. We offered to buy our way out of it. Somehow NKU seemed to be able to buy their way out. I don't know how that happened. I guess they have better arm twisters than we do. But yeah, this gets me really fired up because, correct me if I'm wrong, John, every year, yes, I know, it's one of the reasons why I like you, John. Every year, the state says, you owe us this much money for pensions for hazardous and non-hazardous employees, and every person that works here pays money into this pension fund. Far as I know, we've never skipped a payment. I know the employees aren't skipping payments. For as long as I've been here, we've made all the payments we were required to make, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you owe us $14 million. I think Louisville's number at the time was like $800 million or something ludicrous like that. So, I mean, literally, they just, to offset the ridiculous mismanagement of the pension funds in Frankfurt, said, oh, well, you, City X, your proportional amount you owe is this, and yours is that, and whatever, which is why this gets me so fired up. We don't owe on anything. We pay cash for everything. We have a capital improvements plan, and this fires me up because if someone doesn't really understand how this works and doesn't understand that through some government math, they just said, oh, okay, we have a plan. Here, you owe this much, and they could force us to carry this on our books. This $8 million is complete crap as far as I'm concerned. As you know, because you've heard me say some sort of rant like this every year since you've been doing this. But I just want people at home to know, because we will publish all of this on the website, this is a complete crock of crap, but at least it's moving in the right direction. We've gone from the 14 million or whatever it originally was to only 8 million now. So, yes,
So a couple of things. I'll address a couple of items.
fire away.
Yeah, first of all, the state of Kentucky has nothing to do with it. The SURS program, it's the county employee retirement system, is separate from the Kentucky retirement system, which the state.
Yeah, sirs, right.
Yeah, so now the SURS is the one who does the actuarial study and determines.
But who has the authority to tell me I owe this $8 million?
That's your agreement. Yeah, that's your agreement in SURS, I guess.
So are you saying I can just say, up yours, come collect, if you can? Brooke?
To the attorney.
I know you weren't prepared for this tonight.
You can say
I mean,
that, Dave.
the Supreme Court told us that we have to pay, so, anyway, go ahead.
So, and then, and so you're correct, when they were managed by the same board several years ago, the state paid in some years and some years it didn't pay in, and the state went, and so what the board did is the board made very bad decisions on how to do their investments, and they included the SURS in those decisions as well. Your SURS is now separated. You have its own board, and it is not in the same as the state's board any
It
longer.
is clearly doing a much better job
And it's
at this point.
clearly doing a much better job. That's correct. And so since the SURS board's taken over, and you can just watch it. You can watch it fall. Now the market obviously plays a big tick in that. If the market is horrible at June 30th, 2026, it'll spike up next year. So we'll see that spike up. But they did change some of their actuarial assumptions. The number is not really a made-up number, made up in the halls of state government, unfortunately. It is an actuarial number. So there's an actuary that says, here's how many retirees you have. Here's your growth, payroll growth rates. Here's the amount that the city governments are expanding. Here's your return rates. Here's how many people are in the plan. Here's their ages. Here's how long they're going to live, through actuarial tables. And they say, here's how much money, and they do the actuarial calculations and say, here's how much money it would take to support all those people. Then what they do is then they take that number and they divide it by the amount of contributions. And so each city is given a number based on its proportional share of the contributions, which is interesting because I'll give you a case study since you're so interested. The city of Silver Grove had about I think $500,000 net pension liability, and they had one police officer. that police officer went away, pension liability went away. So it is interesting, like, where did that go? Where did where did their unfunded pension liability
And
go?
that's what I mean
It went
by
spread,
the
it
BS.
got spread across.
Well, sure,
everybody.
yeah.
It spread across everybody else.
Some percentage of it came to us.
Yes, absolutely it did. Yeah, but it is based on your contributions. If the city of Fort Wright decides to double their staff this year, so you go from 13 police officers to 26 police officers, your hazardous contributions will double, roughly, and your hazardous pension share would go up. It may not double, but it would go up dramatically. So that's how it works.
Well, I appreciate the further explanation, especially because we have some newer people that
It's not magic happening in Frankfurt.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that you're clear that there's a little more to it than that.
I appreciate some pointy-headed actuary.
That's right. It's a
With a
pointy-headed
calculator, yeah. I worked at an insurance company, I know about these people. But anyhow, no, I appreciate the clarification. Again, my issue with this has always been that all of a sudden, due to, in my opinion, mismanagement and the need to politically fill this hole, plus, I mean, this impacts people's lives, right? I mean, people worked, they expect these pensions, and the money has to come from somewhere. So I'm not disputing that. The thing that fires me up about this is, again, we're debt-free, and then suddenly, oh, you owe $14 million. Well, wait a minute. We made if we didn't make the proper payments, that's on you, right? We paid what you told us to pay. Our employees paid what they were supposed to pay. Your mismanagement is not my fault. And yet, here I am with an $8 million liability that we supposedly owe. So anyway, it's very frustrating. But again, at least it's moving in the right direction, and thank you for the clarifications.
Sure, absolutely. I enjoy this. I enjoy this each year. Next,
I can tell that you do. You've probably been thinking all day, good God, I'm going to have to go listen to Hatter rant about this.
also I get a colonoscopy every 5 years. Next slide shows revenues versus expenditures. About $8.1 million in revenue, about 7.577 in expenditures. And this is from all sources in your governmental funds. Revenue's down about 0.2%. I'll tell you why in a minute. Under the prior years of about 8.16. Expenditures of down about 2.8% or compared to about $7.8 million last year. So in 2025, you had a gain, or the delta between revenues and expenditures, about $562,000 compared to a gain of about $358,000 in the prior year.
And again, I'm going to stop you one more time because I just want to take a second to thank staff for this. You know, we put a budget together. Finance Committee does a lot of work on this. Council oversees this budget. And I just want to point out to the folks who live here, these folks take this seriously, right? The folks that are on council live here. Most of them, like me, have lived here pretty much their whole lives. They love the city. They take this job seriously, and I think this is just one of the ways that reflects that. You know, because they oversee the budget, staff carries this out. We have an amazing team, and, you know, year after year after year, we always seem to come in a little higher on the revenues and a lot lower on the expenses, and obviously, we couldn't do that without council and staff that are paying attention to the budget, are looking for ways to not spend money they don't need to spend, aren't out buying like the latest toy. You know, I will say, you know, we try to make sure our team has what they need to do the job, not only for their safety, but for the safety and comfort and convenience of our residents. But again, I think, and I encourage people, these audits are out on the website and have been for years. You can go back for years and years and years and see these things. This is the trend every year. We always seem to come in way ahead of the expenses, and I just want to say again, thank you to staff. You guys are doing a killer job, and I very much, and I don't want to speak for council, they can speak for themselves. I think we very much appreciate the work you guys do to manage the budget wisely.
Go to the next slide. So this is a breakdown of your revenues. Again, $8.1 million revenue, about a 0.2% decrease. Licenses and permits right at $4 million, about an 11% increase. Property tax at almost 2.2 million, about an 8% increase, and that's about $166,000. Obviously, a natural increase. That's just higher PBA assessments, et cetera.
Yeah, and the, you know, yeah.
No tax increase.
Thank you. A tax decrease, actually. And again, I'm going to stop you one more time. For folks watching from home, you heard my rant before about House Bill 75. 2.17 million in property tax. Now, that also includes, you know, cars and the other stuff that's taxed. But if that House Bill 75 passes as of 2028 using these numbers, about half of that money just goes poof overnight. So when you don't have an ambulance show up, when the police can't get to your house, or when your road seems like a lunar landscape, thank the people that are proposing House Bill 75 down in Frankfurt, which hopefully isn't going anywhere. But I just want to point out, again, very fortunate that, as you can see here, a substantial portion of our revenue comes from business-related taxes and fees. And I want to add, between the property taxes that the Weiler development will throw off and the payroll taxes that will create, that is just going to be one more thing that helps push this up and lets you keep more money in your pocket. We're very blessed to have a thriving business community, and we do not need to have 65% of our property taxes erased overnight. Proceed, sir.
All right, thank you. Charges for services, down a small amount, about 4%. And then intergovernmental, dropped about 49, almost 50%, because you expended a significant amount of the ARPA funds in the prior year. It was actually inflated in the prior year, down to a little more normal number, this year, at about $511,000 there. Expenditures by department, the next slide. Thank you. Again, right at $7.5 million, about a 2.8% decrease. Fire and EMS, almost all chief salary, $2.2 million, plus 2.2%.
Hey, could you next year plot mayor's salary on here? It would go backwards like 70,000.
It's way down.
Yeah, it would be like negative 70,000. Yeah.
So, police department at, right at $2 million, a 3.5% increase. General government, 1.46 million, about a 6% increase. And then capital outlay, about $1.1 million. That's about a 34% increase, and a decrease, I'm sorry. Again, you spent, roughly, I think it was $650,000 in ARPA funds in the prior fiscal year. So that's why that decreased this year. And then public works increased, right at $168,000, or 31% increase. That's the majority, again, unmodified opinion, so a very good, clean opinion for the audit. No significant deficiencies or material weaknesses to discuss in your internal control. No non-compliance issues with laws or regulations. And then I don't know if I said this or not, no management letter comments either this year. So we're happy with everything that we've seen so far. Any questions or anything?
I have a couple questions and comments, but I want to let everyone else have a chance to ask whatever they might have. Well, first off, on a serious note, you know, sometimes I'm being facetious, sometimes I'm not. I'll leave it up to you to decide when those times are. But that said, you know, we appreciate you. I always appreciate working with you and your team. I think you do a great job for us. Well, let me come back to that. Are you familiar with this bill that apparently, Jill, what's the bill number? Jill and I were talking about this today. You know, every once in a while, she sent me the email. I can dig it out if I have to. Every once in a while, every couple of months, KLC has this statewide mayor's group meeting, which I'll attend. And a couple of years ago, I think you and I had talked about this, John, because I recommended you. You know, several mayors from smaller cities and rural areas are like, we can't even get someone to do an audit for us. I'm like, well, that's crazy. First off, because again, I think this is one of the single most important things we do as a way to ensure that there's public trust and that funds aren't being misappropriated and that, you know, we're doing what we said we're doing. So I was kind of shocked by this. And that conversation went on for a while, and there were lots of mayors saying, yeah, we can't even find someone qualified or willing to do an audit for us. So Jill and I were talking about that today, and she mentioned that apparently Senate Bill 192, are you familiar with this?
I'm not sure if this is the bill you're talking about, but it's to reduce cities, they only have to produce a financial statement or something like
Yeah, they have
that.
to my understanding, and that was what I was hoping to get some more clarification on, my understanding, if they have not, they only have to produce a financial statement, and there's some sort of waiver for communities who have less than $15 million and don't exceed over $500,000 in expenses, but they're granted some sort of leeway if they haven't filed an audit in 2 years or more.
I saw some of that. I don't know the specifics of the bill. I'm sorry.
And I don't really want to put you on the spot, John.
And sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, there's the good thing about a legislative session So there's a lot of things that come through there and very little of it sticks. So I don't get into it too much until it sticks.
Yeah, so
You
again,
know.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but it seems to me, and, again, we would do this even if we didn't have to. In fact, I'll get to the Dean Dorton thing here in a second. But correct me if I'm wrong, but if you change the rules to make it easier for, let's just say, misappropriation, and we've seen some examples recently here, doesn't it seem like that might incentivize that sort of behavior? And would it might not possibly make more sense for the state to say, hey, maybe we should hire some auditors in Department of Local Government or something that these other communities could use? Or, hey, maybe we could put together funding so these cities could hire quality auditors like you. I think it's totally insane that you would do anything to reduce the auditing requirements, especially in light of the complete corruption and fraud we've seen at every level of government in this country. This is so insane to me.
We would absolutely agree that we would want to reduce the audit requirements.
It's insane.
Now, there are ways, I think one of the things in that bill is that they will allow some agreed upon procedures. And you can do some of the, like in a very small city, you could get the same amount of bang for your buck, if you will, with an agreed upon procedure, like where you're really just looking at cash accounts. You might be looking at the cash balance, the disbursements. I don't have to really do a review of internal controls. I don't have to do a review of, of course, a lot of these small cities may not even have SIRS, at that level. But, you may not have to do all that. You may not have to issue a set of yellow book financial statements that are more complicated than if you don't have to issue financial statements. There's a lot of savings that you could have and still review critical accounts and some things like that. But so there's some things you could do. Yes, I agree completely. And you're right. Maybe funding, maybe having the Department of Local Government or the state auditor, be more involved. Maybe doing random audits of cities.
Yeah, it feels like there would be.
Financial statement audits of cities.
Feels like there'd be better ways to spend state money and help ensure transparency and trust rather than just reduce the requirements and say, well, hope it works out.
We don't believe in reducing the requirements, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay. Again, this just came to my attention and my head sort of exploded when I saw it.
So I emailed you the bill number and the link to the bill so you could review it. So KLC is supporting it, and my understanding is it's got some momentum in Frankfurt to pass this session. And I agree with Mayor. I just think a reduction in what's required for smaller communities who may not have qualified staff or as much staff.
Yeah, I fully understand all the challenges.
We already have that. Really small communities that do an audit every 4 years, I think it is. But it's a 1-year audit every 4 years.
But telling people, hey, we're not even going to be looking, it doesn't seem like a smart plan to me. Okay, thanks for the insight there.
I did, I sent it, so you'll have it. If you don't mind, I would love for you to take a look at it and give us your feedback on it. They did indicate that they worked with the Kentucky Group of Accountants on it, and there seems to be a certain benefit. It's
KYCPA,
just, in my mind, it's just one of those, there seems to be, by reducing some of those requirements, an admission to, we're going to continue to allow to operate even if you can't really provide the services.
Yeah, the KYCPA, if they have a position on it, it's probably pro-public safety, public,
Sure, yeah.
public trust,
Yeah, of
that would be their position.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we would just be interested in your feedback.
So two last quick things. As I think you know, they've probably reached out to you. We engaged Dean Dorton to do an audit. Okay. I sent them all of this material and told them, feel free to reach out to you. You could talk to them, give them whatever they need. And again, this is just because we actually care about ensuring that we're doing the right things here and people's money is protected and so forth. This is a much deeper dive than the type of audit you're doing. And we did this a few years ago, kind of decided it made sense to do it again because, we want to protect residents' money. We want to make sure we're doing all the right things. And again, kudos to you and your team. Over the years, you've given us numerous recommendations that we've implemented. Like we've hired more people and had separation of duties to make sure that one person can't cook the books and so forth. So just wanted to throw that out there. I know they're working. They've been working with Jill. I've sent them some stuff. I've talked to them. Jay, did they get with you?
Yes, they did.
From the finance committee. So I'll be looking forward to getting their results. But again, thank you for everything. And then my last thing, I'm just curious, this is more of a,
Excited to get them as well, because that just helps us.
we use OpenGov, right? And, I've been a big fan and proponent of this from day one. I mean, as soon as I became mayor, I said, we're going to do this. And, I've been the big proponent of it. For anyone who doesn't know, you can go to our, quote, Fort Wright Financial Transparency Portal, which is through a company called OpenGov, and you can literally see every single check. You can see every dollar, everything that's coming out of this place, okay? But I'm now rethinking if this makes sense because of a cyber incident that happened with a neighboring city who I won't mention because they did not give me permission to mention it. But I just want to sort of lay this out here for everybody. And I'm curious to get your take on it, John. So folks may have heard this term MFA bombing or push bombing, where suddenly, you're using, hopefully everyone has MFA, multi-factor authentication, turned on all their accounts, okay? So ideally, you would be using an MFA authenticator app, so you're not getting the code via text, you're getting it to an app. Now, this could come via text, but usually it's app-based, and they'll just start sending messages, just over and over and over and over again, because they're trying to get into your account, and they're hoping that you're eventually going to get pissed off and say yes to stop the messages coming to you, at which point your account is now compromised. This happens all the time, okay? It's a real thing, happens all the time. So this happened to a neighboring city, and they called me up, and I said, well, let me come out and see what you got. And it looks like they probably dodged a bullet on this, but as we were sort of talking through different systems and security and this sort of thing, it kind of hit me that, if you got into our systems here, got into my mail, got into Jill's mail, got into Nyoka's mail or something, you could see like, hey, who do we invoice regularly? Who invoices us? Because I'll tell you all right now, again, this is what I do all day long. Hundreds of companies around town that are our customers, hundreds that I'm talking to about this. We had a client referred to us from another accounting firm. They lost $983,000. $983,000 through fraudulent invoices because an email account was taken over. Bad password, no MFA. So when you tell me, oh, that MFA, that extra 2 seconds it takes to get that code, it's just too damn much time. Well, if you got a spare $985,000 laying around, it will get stolen. Just take my word for it. So $983,000 gone, account takeover, they got in, they waited till the invoice cycle came around, and they sent out invoices where they changed the payment information. So they're in this person's email box, impersonating them. Invoices go out, and when the customers make the payments, the payment goes to some offshore bank account, $983,000 gone. And what do you think happens when you call your insurance company? Because hopefully everyone has cyber insurance, right? When you call your insurance company, you say, hey, I lost $983,000. Well, how did it happen? Well, they got into my email account because my security sucks. And then they say, oh, sorry, good luck with that, we're not going to pay. But all that said, okay, all that said, looks like our neighbors dodged a bullet on this. But it got me thinking, okay, I am showing a criminal every single person we do business with. So what would stop them from going into OpenGov and then sending out fraudulent requests for payment or whatever, because we've just showed them every single check we've written, every bit of income. We've put it all out there for anyone that wants to take it and use it for some nefarious purpose. So I'm rethinking if it makes sense to keep using OpenGov. I don't know if you have an opinion. I don't know if anyone's ever broached this subject before. But while I'm all for the transparency aspect of it, I think it's a great tool. And again, I've been the primary pusher of it now for more than a decade. I'm not sure it makes sense anymore, because it's giving bad guys an enormous amount of useful information to impersonate us and potentially collect money.
So the same information is available through open records requests.
But that at least creates a barrier and now, if I'm a smart criminal.
No, but it creates a paper trail.
Yes.
For that person, so that person has to make a request.
Yeah, anyone can go on OpenGov right now. It's wide open. There's no credentials required. You just pull up whatever you want. You could literally extract all that information and say, hey, when next time you pay Fort Wright, send it to this bank account.
Open records requests create a lot of work for the staff, obviously. So
And there is a bill pending in Frankfurt that an open record request would have to be validated with an actual ID for a Kentucky resident.
So again, I don't know if anyone else has mentioned this to you. Again, I don't want to put it on the spot, John, but I'm like, this might not be smart.
not the OpenGov aspect of it. That's actually a really good point. Of course, you're the expert on this, but I don't know much about that. And but I can see your point,
Yeah.
you know.
So let's just say, for example, you're a bad actor, right? And you go in and you see people that we are paying on a regular basis, okay? Especially on some sort of cyclical invoicing basis. Every month we're paying for X, like OpenGov, for example, right? What would stop you as a bad actor from figuring out when the invoices go out, sending us an invoice from an impersonated email account, and it looks exactly like the real invoice. The only difference is the payment information has changed. And unless we are carefully verifying each one of those every time, you know, Cincinnati lost several tens of thousands of dollars through fraudulent invoices like this. Well, they didn't really lose it. Their vendors lost it because the vendors got hacked and Cincinnati made payments to vendors that were fake, right? That's not Cincinnati's fault, in my opinion. Yeah, and I can tell you, if you're a vendor out there and your security sucks and we make a payment to the wrong place because we got a fraudulent invoice on your behalf, guess what? We're not paying again. So just on the record, not a chance we're going to pay you again, so.
I mean, if they, you know, you insert yourself into someone's email stream, and then you say, well, oh, we want to set this up as an ACH transaction. And even though it's already, you know, we already know, you know, that's what we'd want to do as a vendor. You know, yeah, that's the safest way for us to do something. That's way better than
This is
checks.
why you cannot trust anything and you must verify everything.
Absolutely. I think probably the biggest step here is to have, there's more internal control, you know, steps that need to be taken place. Anytime you change an ACH transaction, you know, you need to
Verify.
pause it, verify. You don't call the number on the email. You call the main number. You know, you call
Do
that.
not call the number in
call
the
that
email.
construction company, or you call that whatever. You speak to their accountant, you know, that you already know, blah blah blah, you know, or somebody that you already have a contact with there. They're not you know, in that email chain.
That's all I got again. Appreciate you guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
That's a fantastic question, and you're thinking, you know, you're thinking above the bar there. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else got anything for John?
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. If you hear from Dean Dorton, give them whatever they need, and we'll give you the output of that once we get it. Yep, thank you. And then for folks watching from home, we will get all this stuff posted on the website. I say this every year, you know, this is your city, it's your money. I encourage you to go download this stuff, take a look at it, and stay tuned. So with that, we will get back to the agenda, and that gets us back to the regular order, unfinished business. Steve, give us your scintillating fire and EMS report for 2025.
You guys received the annual report, I believe at the last council meeting. I wasn't here.
And I did include it in their packet again, Steve.
And Jill said, I think a few people had some questions on volumes or something. I wasn't sure what exactly you needed. But I brought a little bit of information. And if I can't answer it tonight, I'm sure that I can get it for you. I just might need it.
Chief, I know how much you love it when I ask you to produce all kinds of detailed data reports. I know it's one of your favorite things to do in the whole world, so.
It's funny when
I'll-
you make a report that small, but to see what went into creating it to get it to that, there's a lot of numbers.
I'll see if I can't come up with some of the stuff you thoroughly loathe doing here as we're talking about this, because I know how much you enjoy it. I guess what I would propose, Steve, is why don't you just give us hit the high points of whatever you think the most relevant information would be to council and people watching from home.
I mean, some of it's, you know, kind of self-explanatory. If you're just looking through it, it's got an organization, how many people work here. We run out of one station, but basically run 2 engines. We do have 2 ambulances. One's on track all the time. One is not on track when we have the staffing. You know, we put it in service as a call comes in. In 2025, we hired an additional 3 part-time individuals to work. If you remember last year, we were able to bump it from 15 to 20 part-time employees. And I think right now we're at 18, but we were able to also fill our opening for the full-timer. We just did that recently, so he's in that position now, and he's on a regular shift work. So we'll get that leveled out a little bit. He's working out great, by the way. We answered 1,261 calls last year. That's total. Just as a kind of a rule of thumb, we make about 10 EMS calls for every fire call we get. Before the meeting, Councilmember Ross asked me about the fires for last month's report, and I think it was 30-something. Just to give you guys an idea, we're not fighting 30 fires a month. That's not happening at all. Fire calls are basically going to wind up everything that doesn't wind up as a trauma or a medical call for us, an EMS call. So, you know, it could be a garbage can fire, it could be a brush fire on the side of the road, it could be sweeping up debris from auto accidents, it could be a box of nails maybe fell off the back of a work truck in the interstate and we're cleaning it up. That's most of what those calls are gonna be. First thing, if we have structure fires in the city of Fort Wright where there's damage, you're gonna get an email probably from me that night, early in the morning the next day, that happened. I mean, I'm gonna make mayor and all you know about that. I think, you know, for the most part, we probably go to 3 or 4 actual structure fires a year. Last year, I'm thinking 2 of them weren't even in our city. They were pretty significant. They were in another city. And there were 2 of them that were in Park Hills, which we go automatic dispatch on those. That's automatic mutual aid. We're on first alarm for structural calls down there. So that, you know, those thankfully are not happening every day. It's all the little stuff in between. Our prescription drop box is a big success. 162 pounds, what we collected last year. And, you know, probably out of that 162, we probably took in 250. Some of the stuff is not what they can process it in the machine that does the destruction. They incinerate it. A lot of it comes in liquid form. The liquid's heavier. We get rid of that a different way. And then we try to take out like vitamins and things that really aren't prescription drugs. We would be sending all kinds of, you know, boxes of stuff out to them. And I think they do it every other month. And, you know, so that's 162 pounds is probably not a lot of weight, but when you're thinking this is just little tiny pills,
Well,
to me, that's a kind of a big deal.
That's the point I was gonna make, Chief. I mean, obviously, pills come in different sizes and have different weights, but if you think about your average prescription pill, it probably weighs 1/10 of an ounce or something. So to get to 162 pounds, that's a lot of pills.
And this is the weight of the pills. This is out of the bottles. This is in a plastic bag as we weigh them.
So I just, you know, I think this is a great service. You know, it improves the environment. It keeps all of these drugs out of the water stream and the waste stream and so forth. And, you know, folks, so the box is out here in the lobby. Anytime the lobby's open, you can walk in, no questions asked, and throw whatever you got in the box. And occasionally during a council meeting, someone will come in with a big bag of pills and throw them in there, you know? So I just want to remind folks, again, I think this is a great service. I appreciate you guys doing this. I think we're collecting just an insane amount of stuff, considering this is a city with
Recently,
roughly
they're coming in with,
6,000 people.
I don't know if they're going and collecting them for people but, you know, Nyoka sees it and Cary sees it. They bring boxes in that they can't even fit into the hopper out there because they're too big, so they bring them
And
straight
sometimes the
back.
box is so full, you have to go out and empty it again because you can't get it open.
Yeah, it looks like I'm running some kind of operation out of my office.
I love the picture we have of you with a giant bag of pills, you know? You ought to hang a couple of those under a coat and go out, like, what do you need? But yeah, I wanted to highlight that. Again, folks, great service. We try to occasionally post on social media to remind folks. It's on the sign out front. If you have prescription drugs that you want to get rid of and you want to do it in a both expedient and responsible way, don't throw them in the garbage. Don't flush them down the toilet. Just when you're out someday, walk in, throw them in the box, and you're out.
Yeah, and if they're unsure if we take it or not, they can bring it up, and if it's something they don't take, you know, we'll get rid of it anyway. We don't hand it back to you. We'll make sure it goes to the right place.
Maybe we could do a fundraiser. The mayor will test your drugs. Bring in some unmarked drugs. Dave will eat them and see what happens. Yeah, that might have been a lewd. I'm not sure what that was. You know.
Just a little side story. Earlier this week,
Put that
I
in the
was
story,
working on
Kathleen.
working on a yeah. Don't put.
Fundraising idea.
We'll skip the side story. Got a long agenda. The lithium battery take back or collection point here, working with the Cincinnati Recycling Reuse Hub, has been very successful. And when I say that, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt because I don't have any kind of matrix to compare it to what's successful and not successful. But people continue to bring these batteries up. I can't really weigh them on the same thing that I'm weighing these pills on. I'd have to get a whole different type of a scale to weigh them. But where we store them and then we contact that group, basically we're just a holding place for them till they pick them up. And they bring all the supplies and they bring the equipment, they put them in to transport them back. They separate, other than damaged or undamaged, that's the only separation we do in-house. And the reuse center takes it from there. But, you know, that's gonna be hundreds and hundreds of pounds of batteries. Batteries are heavy, and I think a few places caught on to the fact that we're doing it, that may be in the business of changing batteries and pieces of equipment, what have you. They don't seem to mind, they take it all, so as long as they're taking it from us, you know, we'll take it from them and get it to the right place instead of going in landfills and, you know, just winding up over hills or something in different places.
I mean, batteries are pretty toxic. This is another great service. I encourage people to take advantage of it. You can just walk in and drop the stuff off.
And again, it's designed for the lithium-ion batteries. However, if you have different batteries, they, you know, we take them all and they take them and deal with them and get them out of here. We're not stuck with any kind of batteries they won't take or anything like that. What they do with them, I'm not really sure. They got an operation down in Queensgate, and they separate it and distribute it from there to whoever reprocesses it after that.
Talk about your brownfields.
Chief, you don't take car batteries, that kind of stuff?
We don't take car batteries. Car batteries are actually one of the most successful recycling programs that are out there, because no one can get a new car battery without turning it in an old car battery unless you pay. So, you know, to get those car batteries, I think I was reading an article about recycling programs. Desiree may know a lot more. She's got kind of a background in that type of thing, but it was like, I think it is the most successful recycling program that's ever been started in the country. And it was started, you know, 30, 40 years ago or something. It's nothing new. If they want to bring them up, I guess we could find somebody that takes them, but nobody's brought any car batteries up yet, at least that I'm aware of. I did want to touch on a couple other things with it. You know, the ambulance, we started working on the specs done, so that will probably be coming back around here shortly. I'm planning to go to Indianapolis to a show conference on these trucks, I think next Wednesday. It's either next Wednesday. It goes for all next week, but I'm either going on Wednesday or Thursday. So I'll be up there with that, talking to those manufacturers, and after that, I hope to have enough information to have that spec ready to put out to bid. As you're aware, it's probably, you know, 48 to 36 months out from when you can get an ambulance after you order it. So that's one of the things coming up. And just as I was looking through some of the stuff, trying to anticipate what you would ask me on this, I kind of put together some of the numbers for, you know, mutual aid given and mutual aid received. Since we were sitting in this room tonight, I was staring at it, and I think I've got a mistake on one part of it with one particular agency we do business with, so I want to double check that. I actually made copies to hand out, but I don't want to give them to you until I verify this number. But it looks like about 11% of the time, you know, out of all the calls, 1,261 calls, we've given mutual aid, and we received it about 5% of the 1,261 calls. So that number is probably going to change a little if my suspicions are correct on this one particular agency. So, you know, I want to make sure that's
You need to
accurate.
get a new tape roll for your hand crank ad.
No, I think I can do this one pretty easy because it's only affecting one agency.
I
And
thought I heard you back there before. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I got my, I had to add a bunch of bars to my Albuquerque thing or whatever you call it.
Yeah, abacus, yeah. You're really going old school there, the abacus.
And the, you know, it was a little over a year ago when we were able to add the other person to the shifts. And, I mean, I think you can truly see that that's helping a lot because we try to keep 4 to 5 people on every shift now. So we're able to put that other ambulance in service, and we, you know, so we can pretty much always have either 2 and 2 or 2 and 3. 3 is ideal on an engine, but we do drop it down to 2 at times. We still have occasions where if somebody calls in sick and then another person calls in at the same time, it creates a little bit of a problem, but it's narrowed down quite a bit from what we've had. And I don't think these are unreasonable. I think these would probably be numbers you would see in most agencies around who, are calling for help. or
Having
calling
worked
for-
with you on this before, I totally agree with that, Chief Shuey. Is that everything? And if
I
so-
think so, unless you guys have questions, or you want me to look at something else or bring something else
One
up.
thing, Chief Shuey, when you're going to Indy, ask them about EMF stuff on their vehicles.
Ask them for what?
Yeah.
EMF, electromagnetic.
Yeah, Met
Hardening,
Fields,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've got that on the list.
Cool.
I've actually already inquired about it, and so far the dealership level people don't have any knowledge of it. But these are gonna be manufacturers' representatives, and they're not really gonna be able to tell me anything about, using it for a squad.
Right.
They're gonna know more of the truck part of it.
And exactly,
And-
right, 'cause
but-
that's part of what you.
Yeah, because I was mostly talking with the dealership rep or the body rep, the upfitter.
Right.
And they don't know anything about it.
Okay.
They should learn about that.
Yeah, it's probably coming.
It's a protection from electromagnetic pulse, yeah. Because, everything is a computer now, and it doesn't take much to fry it. So, essentially, yes.
I think there's actually devices out that can shut vehicles down already, modern vehicles that run on ECMs and stuff. And
Yeah.
There's a lot of
It-
stuff for it.
It's called your modern surveillance state car that's full of garbage that
I
can
can
be
tell
turned
you,
off
my new
remotely at any
vehicle that
time.
I drive, it's probably about a year old, and, I mean, it knows where I'm at everywhere I go and tells
But
me
it has
how
your
much
best
fuel's
interest
in my
at heart
car, and it's popping up on my phone. It's like distracting me, and then the dashboard's telling me not to be distracted.
Yeah, you know what you need? You need AI. You need AI, it'll fix it right up.
I guess the last thing is we were replacing one of the staff vehicles. This has been the third year I've worked on this, and I inquired about the order that, probably it was August when I ordered it, that the order went through, and they told me, they thought they sent me an email that said they weren't able to order it. I had to pick one off the lot. So, they've got about 100 of them, I think, in Louisville. So I was gonna ride down there and see if there's one, because that money's still sitting there that came from the,
We were gonna use some of the ARPA funds or
Yeah.
the fund for it. I can't remember.
yeah, so I'm just gonna have to probably deal with something that they've got sitting on their lot, so they've got two colors, so it's not gonna be the maroon like we've had the past, 15, 18 years or whatever. It'll probably be red or black. I mean, black or white.
Any other questions for Chief Shuey?
Yeah, I've got one, Chief. How do you, or what kind of system do you have with the crazy snow we had? I was driving around the city one day, and it looked like several of the hydrants were snowed in.
They do get shoveled in from time to time. The Public Works guys is pretty well aware of where they're at, and they're good at it, keeping it away from them. Usually, it's like a day later, we'll go out with a pickup truck and locate the ones that got buried in and take some shovels. I think they even borrowed tobacco a couple times. And
We went out with a backhoe and uncovered.
yeah, and shoveled them out and got them opened back up. Yeah, we drive around and take a look and it's kind of the same thing where we have known hydrants that freeze. If we're gonna get a freeze, we'll go open the caps, make sure there's not water up in the barrel. Because if it is, the hydrant's not gonna work. And how many times that, the hydrant didn't work. So we try to pump those back down. But it's trying to keep a handle on it. It's just difficult when they have that much snow. It's gotta go somewhere. And usually those hydrants are in good places to put snow. So,
And Steve, I don't know if I saw it in your report, but you all do regular hydrant maintenance and painting.
well, yeah, so the hydrants in the city get checked twice a year. And they do that. We need to do that really for our ISO rating when they come in review. And then the water district, the water district owns the water system for the most part. We partner with them. They test all dead-end hydrants. They want to do that on their own because they also sample water quality. Most everywhere in the city of Fort Wright is a looped system. So, you're not gonna be able to turn off one main somewhere and have a water system shut down. They've really got to go to two different locations. There's a few places that are on dead-end lines. Those are always gonna be maintained. I mean, we're welcome to go do it if we want to make sure they work, but the water district always wants to test those because they flush them for so many minutes. They take a water sample, they record the water quality, and that's something they do, you know, with whoever monitors their quality of water in the United States or something. We don't check for water quality or anything like that. And then they provide us with products that during the year, one is the grease. There's actually grease fittings on most of them that we can pump grease into. So when we're out flowing them, we can grease them. We can lubricate the threads on them, and then they provide paint. We can paint the fire hydrants. Northern Kentucky Water District also offers a program where if we find hydrants that are, they're called bourbon hydrants. Most of the time, they just got 2.5-inch outlets. Might not mean anything, but they don't have that big outlet like you see on most of our hydrants nowadays. So that's what we use as large diameter hose. We can request that be replaced. If they're putting a new water line in like they're getting ready to do over at Hazelwood, they'll put new hydrants in with it most of the time unless they're relatively new. And then we've paid for the hydrant, and then they supply the labor to install the hydrant and put the hydrant in. We've gone through pretty much of the city, and we've got, you know, nice hydrants in our city. There's probably still a few subpar hydrants out there, but, you know, the 500 and some hydrants we have, I'm gonna say 95% of them are, you know, these are great hydrants, good hydrants with good water supplies.
Anything else for Chief Shuey? The report is posted on the website, as is the police department's report, which was presented earlier. You know, again, I encourage people to go check this stuff out. If you have questions, reach out. But I just want to say, Chief Shuey, I think you and your team are doing a great job. I appreciate all you do for the city, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, appreciate it. If you come up with any other questions, feel free. I kind of took your thing like on the website with our numbers of the city and tried to make it as simple as possible, but obviously if there's more information, I can get it.
Oh, and one last comment, yeah, from the municipal aid standpoint, you know, thank you to all of our neighboring cities out there. It's good to see that I think the numbers have balanced out where we're giving more than we're getting at this point. But, you know, even in a smaller city like this, we couldn't do it without the help from our neighbors, whether it's
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
the police department's backing each other up, the fire department's backing each other up. I mean, it's absolutely essential, and it's one of the things that makes Northern Kentucky a great place to live is, you know, sometimes we have our disagreements, not everybody sees things exactly the same way or whatever, but, you know, when it comes down to it, I have no doubt that we can count on Ludlow and Taylor Mill and Fort Mitchell and Bromley and
Oh,
Park
yeah.
Hills and all of our neighbors to back us up, and vice versa. We're gonna do the same for them, so. Okay, we've done the audit, 2026 street program. Jeff?
So we had our bid opening last Thursday, I think it was last Thursday. We had 5 bids for the street program, which is Hazelwood Drive and Elder Court. Complete reconstruction, Jefferson Contracting came in as the low bid. We've worked with Jefferson before, they did phase 1 of Fort Henry in, I think it's 23. Good contractor, really like those guys, so, got a lot of good bids, but Jefferson came in as the low, so, Verdantis is, recommending that we go with them.
Okay, council, questions?
Do we need to make a motion? Did you already give it to them, or do we have to?
You guys have to approve.
Yeah, we have to approve it.
Okay.
Does the complete reconstruction include curbs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, under drains, same thing that Redwood has,
Got it.
rolled curb.
Yeah, perfect.
Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion to accept the bid from Jefferson per our engineer's recommendation?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Weber, second? Second by Witt. Any additional discussion? All right, roll call, please, Jeff. Or Jeff, roll call, please, Carrie. I mean, you know what? Let's mix it up. Have at it. Yeah.
I'll let her do it.
Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
And Jeff, just real quick for folks watching from home, because obviously this is one of the big things we do every year, just give a quick high-level overview of this year's street program.
So Hazelwood and Elder, completely reconstruction. We're gonna take out the entire street, not all at one time. We'll do sections of it. But before that, and this was gonna go into my, report later on, but, water main is getting replaced as well. Duke Energy has been in there, lowering gas services, the gas services across the street, so that they're kinda out of the way for us. Water main is, Water District is planning on starting their project, next week. It's March 9th. I'm not so sure that the weather's gonna cooperate. It looks pretty wet for the foreseeable future, but, on or about, March 9th. Once they're done, they should be done early May-ish, if, you know, weather cooperates. And then, the reconstruction project will begin after July 1st. And we will get with our, contractor and have pre-construction meetings set up in the near future and get schedules from him, and we'll have a better idea when we're gonna get going on that. I have, last week, letters went out. I sent letters out to all residents within the project area so that they're aware of what's going on. And, you know, if they got any questions or concerns, I've given them my email and phone number, so I haven't heard from anybody yet, but I think everybody over there is pretty excited to get it done. It's gonna be a headache for the summer, but once it's done, it's worth it.
Yeah, but when they did Fort Henry, they did a really good job of accommodating traffic. So
Jefferson,
I-
yeah, they did a great
We didn't have
job.
any issue really.
Yeah, that was our first project with them. They did a spectacular
Yeah.
job over there.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along, salt storage building proposal. Is that a Jeff or a Jill?
I'll take it and Jeff can fill in. So we have been talking for several months now about constructing some sort of salt storage facility on site because we have obvious issues and concerns about continuing to store at the state facility. And we also have some delay in having to be able to access materials. For a lot of reasons, it makes more sense to have a site that's much closer to us. One of the sites that we determined that, of course, there's no cost to acquire is actually constructing something on-site on this property. And we determined that the best location was going to be the current tot lot playground. We were going to remove that playground and construct a salt storage facility there that would blend into this type of building, the style, the design, and be aesthetically pleasing still to the public who lives around it, as well as drives by it in our community. So we reached out to the city engineer, asked them to put a proposal together for design and bidding services, as well as construction administration. They provided a report to us, which I've provided to you in your packet. An estimated cost for a survey for design is $3,500. Geotechnical investigation, which we thought ultimately would be a good decision, was $14,975. Civil engineering work was approximately $8,500. The architectural design was $15,600. Electrical design and engineering estimated to be $4,000. The bidding and negotiating of that project was estimated to be $4,500, with construction administration services estimated to be $12,500. And then there's a reimbursable allowance included in there, $500. So the total design, bid, oversee construction is approximately $64,075. And we're recommending to you this evening that you engage Verdanis for this service to continue moving this project forward. We were thinking of a large portion of this work would be done the first quarter. That's obviously going to continue into the second quarter now. And then they're thinking 6 weeks to proceed with bidding process and 3 weeks for that. So, you know, ideally, they're saying 10 weeks totally to complete. We would ideally like to have a building constructed and salt storage on site for this winter season.
Jill, when I looked at that, I noticed two things. One, because it is salt storage, SD1's going to go nuts. They got dollars in there to deal with them.
There should be, as part of the architectural design and the engineering,
Okay,
a
I just want to make sure we
component of
covered that.
that. And we have discussed that previously with Verdanis.
Okay.
They're aware of SD1's requirements. So I don't think it'll be a problem, and I feel confident it's built into this number.
Gotcha. Second thing is the roof. They specified shingles.
Mm-hmm.
What about a metal roof?
Yeah, we can look at any type of options that you want
It
for that.
may-
Wouldn't
And
that
as
be a
we
rust
get
concern
into,
though?
What's that?
Wouldn't it be a rust concern from the salt?
No, I don't think so.
With the salt in the atmosphere, it absolutely will, yeah.
Think so?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it probably depends on the metal, but I mean, your standard metal roof, I would think would be,
maybe if
the
you put
salt would be
stainless
highly
on there,
corrosive.
and that's gonna cost you a
I
fortune.
would at least
Let's do
ask,
titanium.
I would at least ask the engineer, because
We can talk to him. I don't know that I've ever seen a metal roof on a dome before, probably for that reason. I've seen the poly and I've seen the shingle. I mean, we can
they're
ask.
going to be very much involved in the final design process. Those are all documents that I'll submit to you for review and approval before that goes through. So we'll certainly have them in to discuss those details, everything from brick
the reason I was
finishing
saying
to
that was I
roofing.
would think that the roofing construction would be cheaper, because you don't need plywood, all that kind of stuff. You just need purlins to go across.
Sure,
Okay, that's the
right.
first thing. Second thing is metal roofs tend to last longer.
Absolutely.
So, that's the only reason.
So,
Okay.
so while we're on this subject, since we're gonna have to build a building and put a new roof on it, would it make sense, at one time, Donna, you weren't around for this, Jason, I think you were, but I'm not entirely sure. Every once in a while, we'll get someone coming saying, you need solar panels, right? You need solar, cut your energy costs, pay back and all that. And the issue in the past has always been, A, we don't really have anywhere good to put them except on the roof of this building, and B, until you could show me the payback, I'm not interested in it, right?
Right.
I'm not doing it because it makes me feel good. If you can show me a demonstrative payback that's reasonable and we could get off the grid and save some money, I'm all for it. Would it make sense, I don't know what the footprint of this building is, but would it make sense to potentially look at putting solar panels on the roof of this building? I'm just
I
throwing it
don't
out
know
there.
enough about solar panels. You're talking about a pretty steep, you're talking about a pretty steep slope on there. I'm not sure how that would work with the solar panels. I don't know enough
Well,
about
I mean,
solar.
if you sloped it in a way where it caught the sun, then that would solve that
Right,
problem.
right, yeah, I just don't know enough.
I'm not an
about
expert, I'm just throwing it out as an idea. If we're gonna do this, and we happen to be sitting on a large amount of money, if the payback period is reasonable, is this an opportunity to do it? Kind of dip our toes in without going all the way.
I think we can certainly mention it to them. I think my concern initially would be the same thing with the metal roof, the amount of salt.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
that's
it's too
going to-
corrosive to be that
Yeah, 'cause we're
close.
we wanna put a little piece of equipment in there, we know it's gonna eat that up.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think
Ask
it's,
them,
I think it's
see what
worth
they say,
asking, but-
and if they say it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
then that's fine.
Okay.
So, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
As we go through this process and take a look at the reality of the situation, do we have in mind possible Plan B in case something comes up during this pre-construction process that prohibits this construction? Do we have a Plan B?
We would still have the same agreement with the state. So while that has changed over the last year, we used to haul our own salt in there, and they decided, for whatever reason, they don't want cities bringing salt in anymore, they want us to buy it from them. We would just go on that
At a
same,
substantial markup, which is one of the
Correct.
reasons it's driving this.
we would just end up going on that same agreement with them next year.
Yeah, Plan B is to continue, but one thing that I'm not, I don't know if I included it in one of my reports recently, but it's worth mentioning. One of the most recent snowstorms we had, our crews came in at 2. They were called in by the police department, they responded accordingly, they were in within 45 minutes, I
We
think,
got
to
here at
start.
2:15. I got a call at 1:30 in the morning, we got here at
You got here at 2:15.
We got here at
but
2, we got to the state at 2:15.
But you sat in
We
the
sat-
parking
we
lot
didn't
of
get
the
loaded till
state
4 a.m.
until 4, because we had no access to the building and our materials.
So we sat outside the gate waiting, and I called them on my way in, because the interstate was covered.
I agree that we need to do something. I'm just trying to make sure that
I
we've
absolutely
got
agree, yeah, that we don't, yeah, right. Yeah, we would just end up on the same agreement, just like we've been going down there, I've been here over 20 years, and we've always gone down
And
there.
we've got a good working relationship with
Got a
them. I
great
mean, the person who works, Burl,
Yeah.
he
What's his
is
name?
fantastic to work with. We just operate our organizations differently, and our response is different, and it's just not always a good mesh. I don't want to pick on the state, but
95% of the time, they're in before we are. But over the years, there have been a few instances where we've had to wait. But there's also been situations where their supply starts getting low. And it was different before when we owned our own salt in there that they were storing. Now, we don't own it, we're just buying it from them. So we're at a little bit greater risk of them saying, I don't have anything for you.
You mentioned, obviously, this tot lot playground is older and the equipment is not in great shape anyway. I'm wondering if we've given any thought to expediting a new playground potentially at the old Fort Wright Civic Club, regardless of what happens to that property. I think a playground is part of that plan. Would there be a way to expedite that playground? Because you're eliminating a playground for kids in this area.
I think it's a great idea myself.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think more playgrounds and a playground in that area would be nice. My only word of caution to you is that, you know, the working group on recreation, we're getting ready to schedule another meeting. You know, Don, I know you wanted them to look at doing a playground or some other use potentially at South Hills, and we still have this property. I just don't know that that group has really made a recommendation. The tentative plans show a playground on it, but they've been a little over the board of if it's on the left, if it's on the right, like where that final plan is, and you all haven't had a chance to look at it and really weigh in on that. So, and I keep telling Jason we're gonna expedite that, and other things keep coming up on fire. I'll get that meeting scheduled, and we'll get that plan to you to review. We need to move that process along anyway.
And another thing too was, one of the big issues with, the current plan sitting out there is a very large building
Yeah.
that cost a lot of money.
Right.
So one of the big questions was, do we need to have that big of a building to potentially even replace another structure? So we're looking at different, you know, a couple different properties and what belongs where.
Yeah.
And I think until we figure that out, but absolutely 100%, I think we need another playground.
And one of the things, because I think we've talked about it, but I want to make sure that you all are aware of it, because of the age of the playground and probably the demolition that will occur to remove it, our intention is just to scrap it. So they're going to set it aside and scrap it. So I just want to make sure that there's no question later about what happened to it. That's our intent. And we'll get some, potentially a few dollars back for that.
Not much, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
something, but, yeah.
And I'll bring that up even again, that the current tot lot out here, that playground, is not acceptable for kids to play on. So,
Right.
and I know, I'm sure we have residents who are a little upset that that's gonna go away, but it's truly not that great to be on to begin with, so.
Yeah. And really, you know, my concern has always been just the mix of emergency vehicles and heavy equipment, particularly at the Public Works Department. And now we've got bigger trucks than we had initially. They're all moving around that area frequently while children are playing in that zone. It's just a safety hazard.
Jeff, do you need water in that new building?
In the dome?
Yeah,
No, sir. We would need electric.
I didn't hear
Electric, not water.
you. Okay, I was just to know if you needed something to wash the trucks off and that kind of stuff.
No, per SD1's, the Division of Water, we have to wash everything down inside. So all of our trucks get washed in the shop,
Okay.
because all that goes to the sanitary instead of
Okay,
the storm.
that's cool. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, if we washed anything down out there, they'd have a fit,
Okay.
especially salt trucks.
Anything else, or, well, wait a minute.
We need
Yeah,
an
yeah.
approval to
So, so what is the approval to move forward? To
So
get,
it would
to
be
send it
to-
out to bid
No, we need a contract with Verdantis for professional
for their
services.
60 grand or, okay. So we need a motion to allow me and enter into a contract with Verdantis to move this project forward. For, what's the dollar amount, Jill?
It's approximately 64,000.
Okay, just for
Little
people
under
watching from home, 64
$65,000.
grand.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jay. Go ahead, Jill.
And I do just want to point out, we're not required to bid this as a professional service. We're using the city engineering group. There's not a problem in terms of the cost.
So we have a motion by Weber. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second, Ross. Any additional discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I think this, we definitely need to get this moving. And then, as far as the playground idea, Margie, Bernie had expressed a similar sentiment to me. I think, ideally at the next working group, if you guys could come back with a recommendation. I mean, I'm for moving ahead with it myself, but we probably ought to, since we have a process, we ought to stick to the process, try to get everyone on board, and make sure whatever we do is going to be at least loosely aligned with whatever comes next for the rest of the plan. But I think it makes sense to move forward. So, all right. Law Enforcement Navigator Program update.
Yes,
Jill.
so at the last caucus meeting, of course, the county came and the lady from Amanda.
Amanda Peters.
Thank you. Amanda Peters came, presented on the Law Enforcement Navigator Program. You heard that proposal they provided us with the contract. I sent that to Brooke. Brooke pointed out some things I think we need to consider changing in there. We have not had a chance to follow back up and discuss some of that, but one is putting an actual dollar amount in that contract now that they've identified for us exactly which settlement, opioid settlement funds are eligible to be included as part of the Navigator program. So we want to determine what that is. We want to make some changes in a couple of the verbiage phrases that are in the Navigator agreement, and then we'll bring that back to you for consideration. But I didn't really have an indication from you at the last meeting if this is a program you are interested in us continuing on. I don't know if you wanted to bring it back to caucus. We'll certainly get you our recommendations and the dollar amount for the 2-year participation. The chief and I talked about it. I think we're going to recommend to you that you do it for at least the 2-year period and see how it goes. But we'll put all of that, package that up in a formal proposal and a recommendation that we'll have available for you. But before we do that, I didn't know if you had questions or concerns, or, I'm trying to find other program opportunities. We hosted the City Managers Association here for lunch yesterday. Meals on Wheels did a presentation about senior services and providing food resources to some of the seniors in our community. We talked briefly about opioid opportunities. If there was some opportunity to tap into that type of program with the use of opioid funds, they indicated that they were kind of looking at that as a method of trying to gain some support for their programs. But outside of that, I do not have any recommendations for you in terms of what else we'll do with the money at this time. So,
And that's what I'm more curious about, is what are the types of things we can use those funds for, just as a city in general. So that was my holdup, is there anything else we can do?
and I'll get you the verbiage from the statute, because Amanda also sent me that defines that, so you can see for yourself what, maybe you'll come up with a great idea that we are missing.
Special accounting for it?
We do use a
Okay,
special
all right,
accounting
that's
process
cool.
for that, and there is a reporting process. With the county, you can either give them the money and they report it, I believe, or you can do the reporting yourself. I think the reporting is probably better handled at our own level, just because we know it gets submitted, it comes out of our books. But as you noticed, John mentioned this evening in the audit, that money is accounted for separately, and we know, now what we're gonna get, which was $228,000, and according to his numbers, I think we've got receipts of about $72,000 in cash so far. That might have increased a little bit since the last report I gave you, but, and I thought Amanda said our portion potentially was $18,000 or $20,000. Yeah, so we want to
So
confirm
you don't
that,
have
so.
to give them all the money, just that.
You don't have to give them
18
all, they just
to
want,
20.
and some cities have agreed to give them all
Yeah.
the money, I think. But the agreement that they've provided to you is a 2-year agreement, just from specific settlement agencies, or settlement pharmaceutical companies, and, they've listed them by name. I don't know what that dollar amount is, and that's what we want to look at to see.
They didn't say a dollar amount, they said
Did it have a
all
dollar
the
amount?
funds from those sources.
Yes,
But when they were here, they gave the impression that the funds were less important than the participation.
yes, that is true, but the contract itself doesn't specify the dollar amount. We will know that from the settlements, but there are many more settlements that we've received that are outside of the 3 or 4 that they've named specifically. So that's where I want to identify what the true dollar amount is.
So I just want to throw my 2 cents into the mix here. Again, we'll have some sort of formal recommendation coming, but, unless the police department has concerns with doing this, and Chief, at this point, you don't have any significant concerns, right? I think it's worth it. I think it's safe to try, and I think, we've had an enormous amount of cooperation from Kenton County here. As I understand it, we are the only city who has not done this. And I do believe they're less concerned about the money than trying to get this program, fully adopted throughout the county. My recommendation is we just move ahead, unless we can find some amazing thing that we've missed and that the money can be spent on that. I think we should move ahead with it, just to maintain good relations with the county. Again, and it's safe to try. And if it doesn't work out, we can bail out.
The only thing that worries me a little bit is that they don't have an answer to the question, how are we measuring success for this program? So that, I just hate to throw
I think that's a
money.
legitimate question, but how do we measure success for the police department?
Well,
Number of calls.
How do we measure success for the fire department? I mean, less
Well,
houses
they said
burned
they-
down,
Right,
you
they
know?
said they would do all the necessary reporting for the state. It's just how do you account for, I think, is that what you're asking? How do you account for how many touches they have with
Yeah.
citizens, residents?
Well, I think that's a different metric, just like the police department. If the police, so again, I'm just giving you my opinion. If the police department shows up and no one goes to jail, is that a success? The touch, I totally agree with, right? I mean, we don't want to just put our money in and get nothing back as a result.
right.
But in terms of like, is the program successful? I'm not sure how you measure that, because I think you could make a strong argument. And again, Chief, I want you to have psychological safety here to jump in if you disagree with what I'm
Yeah,
about to
A
say.
couple comments after you're done.
But, if, for example, it reduces your workload in the police department because after the initial contact, they pick up some of these things, and the people involved, I don't know if victim is the right word, the individuals that the social work people are working with end up with better service as a result. Again, I don't know exactly how you measure that, but.
I think taking responsibility
Yeah.
from the police department is a great measurable thing. But if we go a year and we've had, 2 referrals,
Well, we'll have much more than that. So initially, I wasn't for the program because I thought that it was all geared towards opioid.
yeah,
Okay, that was the impression I got.
Right.
And, our opioid contacts in the city of Fort Wright over the last 10, 12 years, I'm sure Chief Shuey could attest to that as well, have gone down dramatically. But the more I learned about the program with the, adult protective services, child protective services, and the follow-ups that they will do and initiate, that's something that's on our shoulders now.
Yeah, okay.
To contact these people to get certain, children, adults that can't take care of themselves, or if, there's neglect issues. We have to constantly try and contact adult protective services to get them to do something. So that's taxing on us. The way this program works now, from what I understand, is we just show up to a call. There's a disposition that we can clear a call that will automatically notify them, and then you got boots on the ground that will show up to help these people.
okay.
So it's not us going, oh yeah, I need to follow up with that, or, having remind an officer to do that when he's taking 15 other calls. They're dedicated to these follow-ups, which I find value in that.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
And I'll tag on to that just for a few seconds. Just since even Amanda came in and gave a presentation, in the meantime, the last couple of weeks, I had a friend of mine whose sister has gotten so bad. Now, she doesn't even live in this state. It's a different state, but has declined mentally, not an older person at all, who cannot take care of themselves. And between the police in that city and adult protective services that may or may not be doing what they need to do, it would be nice to have a navigator be in charge of kind of that contact, that go-to person. So I think for just, to do for a year or two and try it, and we can always pull out, and if it's about 20 grand a year, I would vote yes on it.
That's where I'm at, Donna. And, again, whatever the number is, at some point you would hit a number that isn't gonna make sense for us. But the amount of time saved for the police department, which in my mind is time back in the community, doing the things that Fort Wright residents expect and deserve, like the vacation checks and driving around and saying hi and all that patrolling stuff that people love, that they lose that time by having to do all these follow-ups and so forth, just like getting rid of this hotel, right? Instead of going to the hotel and spending who knows how much time there dealing with all the problems that brought, now they're back on the street doing the other stuff that provides direct value to the residents of Fort Wright. So to me, the 20 grand is an inconsequential amount of money to try it. And again, hopefully free them up to focus on the things they're good at while the social workers focus on the things they're good at. And hopefully, at the end of the day, the people receiving those services come out ahead because they're, not that this is any kind of crack on the police department, but you guys aren't really suited, it's not really your fundamental task versus, that's what they do, you know?
I
So-
think trying it for a year is a great idea, and then coming back with, you know, did it really help? Was it really valuable in that, in taking that pressure off of the police department?
We'll come back at the next caucus and put it on there so you can look at the agreement again. You'll get a firm idea of the dollar amount that we need to contribute, and then we'll move it to put on an agenda item for the April meeting.
When you say the
I'm
dollar
sorry.
amount, that's that opioid settlement that we have to do. That money has to be designated for a certain purpose, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
there are new settlements that are occurring all the
Sure.
time. And we just got notified about a new one that we're gonna have to go in and sign off on. That, for example, may not be one of the 3 or 4 that have been included as part of the Navigator funds. Those are just going to be funds that are allocated from those specific settlements. And like I said, there are multiple ones, so I really wanna go in and look to see what the dollar amount is affiliated with those specific opioid settlements that we have received funding for. Because it does, Brooke is correct, it says all of those funds, but it's just for the settlements with those specific companies that are referenced in the agreement. So we just need to figure out what that is. We also, I think there was some concern about the exit terminology that was included in there. There was something else
I
that,
think she said 60, and it's actually 90 days written notice. that-
yeah, there was some provision that you had pointed out in that too. We need to go through, shore up those types of details. We'll get that contract to you to review in full. I think the county wants us to proceed. There really isn't a true deadline for us to do it. But we need to continue to move things forward. But I think taking action at the next meeting is sufficient, if you're interested in proceeding.
And one quick question too is, I wonder, can those funds be used towards people's treatment for drug addiction? Since it's opioid funds, so to speak, if we have residents in the city of Fort Wright that are going down the Sun or going wherever, can those funds be utilized for residents in a very direct way?
Let me get you the statute. Well, let me look at the statute and get back to you on that, because I don't
Instead of
have it
giving
in front of me
to
today.
another agency to do something, I'm not asking anybody in the city to
Yeah.
do more work, it's just, can they actually go directly to?
I think you could probably contribute then to other organizations in some capacity who do drug treatment types of programs.
Okay.
Because that's essentially what you're contributing to
Yeah.
here, right? So I think the answer is yes, you can. The
Where-
question is,
where a
where do
resident
you
could
want
submit,
to?
if there's a 16-year-old or a
Oh, you mean submit to us specifically
22-year-old
for
and say,
funding?
go to this, and we could say, go to this particular agency that we have an agreement with,
Yeah.
and we will actually match funds or
Yeah,
pay for whatever.
I don't think we would want to get into that business.
Or we
Yeah.
have a certain amount of whatever.
I think,
that's gonna be
I'm not-
elevated in our statute.
yeah, I'm not even sure legally we could do that, but even if we could, I think that's going to create an enormous amount of
But
burden
it would be
here,
the agent-
and
Yeah, that
and-
money goes to the agency.
then what next will someone come wanting?
Yeah.
And who is making the decision about, are you qualified for it or not? Yeah, I appreciate where you're going, but on the surface, I would be a hard no on that. Because I think we're opening a can of worms there that would be very hard to manage. And, you're gonna get into, it's kind of like the sign out front. One of the reasons why when people come and say, hey, put my community message on the sign, we don't do it, is because eventually we're not gonna wanna put someone's message on there. And how do I tell you no when I just told them yes? So our policy, since we've had that electronic sign, is don't tell me about your 100th birthday. We're not doing any of that, right? We're putting messages on here related to the city, and that's it. So, anyhow. Okey dokey. Anything else before we move into legislative updates? Because we've been going for a while now.
I do not.
All right, so legislative updates. As you know, the session is getting close to the end, thankfully, so hopefully less of your pockets to be picked and less of your home rule to be taken away, which seems to be the trend here. I did go down to KLC night in Frankfurt. I did have an opportunity to talk to Senator McDaniel, Representative Doan, and several others. I did pound on the House Bill 75 thing extensively, because again, of all the stuff that's out there, I think that's the one that's probably the most detrimental to us, because it has significant impact on our revenue. There's plenty of things I don't like. We've talked about many of them. We sent those letters. But that was the big one for me. And the feedback that I got, both from Amy Cheney, the executive director of KLC, and the people that I talked to, was, yeah, that's not going anywhere. So again, we'll see. But all of that said, you can see we have a laundry list of resolutions here that we would like to potentially propose and hopefully have you take action on, that we can send to our legislators and KLC to hopefully stop some of these things. So Jill, if you want to just walk down the list here.
Do you want me to read each resolution? How would you like me to do it?
Why don't you just give a quick, like, one-line summary of each one, and then if council wants to move forward with it, then we'll just let Brooke read them.
Okay. So it is so the first one is Resolution 1/2026. It's a resolution of the City of Fort Wright, Kentucky, expressing support for House Bill 189 relating to safety within state maintained rights of way. This one deals particularly with people who are taking up space in the right of way. We kind of refer to it internally as the panhandler policy. People could not stand and loiter in those areas unnecessarily. So we're asking you to support House Bill 189.
So to be clear, if this bill were to pass in the legislature, it would make it illegal for people to loiter in those areas,
That is correct.
like stand up at the edge of the exit ramp.
It creates a new section of KRS Chapter 189 defined terms related to the use of state-maintained rights-of-way, and it prohibits a person from remaining on any portion of a state-maintained right-of-way that is not designated for pedestrian use, provide exemptions and authorize local government exceptions, allow local governments to enact ordinances authorizing limited exceptions to the prohibition, authorize the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet to promulgate administrative regulations establishing minimum standards for state-maintained right-of-ways, and amend KRS 189.7 or 570 to conform with these provisions.
Hey, Dave, just to move it along, I mean, I think we understand that. We could make a motion right now and, okay, I'll make a motion to.
Motion by Weber, second.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Second, Ross. Any additional discussion?
Well, yeah, I got a question. Would that pertain to like protesters as well?
It would be anybody who's in the area that is not for pedestrian purposes.
In the right of way.
So what about, you see on TV where these people are on overpasses, standing on sidewalks on overpasses with flags and signs, and is that?
I think a sidewalk is big.
I mean, if they're on a sidewalk, if it's for a pedestrian purpose, then they can.
Yeah, so like on Dixie Highway, like where we would get the protests, as long as they're on the sidewalk, couldn't do nothing like that. Kyle's Lane on the bridge overpass currently, there's sidewalks, can't do nothing with that. But like what the mayor mentioned, like now, if we have panhandlers and they're actually on the interstate ramp, we can trespass them, because it's prohibited. But when they step towards the edge and are conducting that activity, this would give us the opportunity to do something about that.
And I do want to make it clear, this is not to stop any type of protest that may occur.
So we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, we have.
Any additional discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Ms. Witt? Yes. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
All right, motion carries unanimously. What's up next, Jill?
Resolution 02-2026, a resolution of the City of Fort Wright, Kentucky expressing opposition to House Bill 333, an act related to housing. And this particular bill proposes to create a new section of the KRS Chapter 100 that would make affordable housing developed by a religious developer a permitted use subject only to ministerial review by a planning unit, thereby limiting discretionary and local review, establishes statutory approval requirements for certain developments, including eligibility tied to property ownership prior to January 1st, 2026, unit limitations, zoning location requirements, and other conditions, while restricting the ability of local governments to evaluate site-specific impacts. And these types of developments can, to my understanding, go up in commercial as well as residential zones, And our position is that we believe all housing developments require the same review at our planning agency.
I got no problem with that. I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I don't, again, to me, this is indicative of the, continual attack on home rule. I don't know why we would want to make a special exception for religious organizations to pretty much be able to do whatever they want. So motion by Wall, second Collins. Any additional discussion? Well, do we read the whole thing, though, did we?
No, we didn't.
Uh,
I don't know that we need to. We can do it in summary.
If everyone's okay with that, then let's do that. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mr. Collins? Yes. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next.
Resolution 03-2026 is a resolution of the City of Fort Wright, Kentucky expressing support for Senate Bill 132 relating to the local regulation of massage therapy businesses. And this bill proposes to amend KRS 309.364 to expressly confer authority on local governments to regulate massage therapy businesses with respect to zoning requirements, occupational licensing and fees, inspections, advertising practices, hours of operation, and sanitation standards. Of course, this is to prevent prostitution facilities and sex trafficking facilities or human trafficking facilities from popping up in the community.
It's a House bill, right?
It is a Senate bill,
Oh, okay.
Senate Bill 132. I'm sorry, I don't know if I said House or not.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we need further discussion? Do we need to read it in full, or do we have a motion to approve?
It gives us the power, right? The state doesn't retain the power to control.
No, it gives local governments
Yeah.
the ability to provide for local regulation.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion by Weber, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Wall. Any additional discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Collins? Yes. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
All right, motion carries, and what's next?
Resolution 04-2026 is a resolution of the City of Fort Wright expressing opposition to House Bill 612 relating to alcoholic beverage regulation and local regulatory license fees. House Bill 612 proposes substantial changes to Kentucky's ABC regulatory structure, including the creation of a new state retail and wholesale regulatory license fees, restructuring portions of the current tax system, and imposing a 4% state retail regulatory license fee on alcoholic beverage sales. We've had Donnie Arnsberger from Walt's Hitching Post reach out, ask you to oppose this bill. And of course, this adds to businesses in our community that 4% state fee. We do not charge a regulatory tax on alcohol sales. We just charge our local liquor license. But as you move down to the state where they have bourbon facilities and barrel taxes, that's where these kinds of things come into place and have much more of an impact. But I think it's important to support our local businesses because this 4% state fee will increase their costs substantially.
Well, and it'll increase the
And that'll
cost to,
be
consumers
passed on to
that,
you as a
yeah,
consumer.
right.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 426 opposing House Bill 612.
Thank you, Margie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Collins. Any additional discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, couple to go.
Moving on to Resolution 5-2026, a resolution of the City of Fort Wright expressing opposition to House Bill 75 relating to the amendment of Section 1 of the Constitution of Kentucky to exempt property from taxation.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Do we have a second?
The only thing I want to emphasize, and Mayor, I don't think you got an opportunity to identify this. If we lose $1 million in property taxes and you have to recover that tax in additional tax increases through property taxes, it's an increase of 328% for our property
So,
taxes.
so to be clear, or that analysis, which you guys all have in an Excel spreadsheet we sent you.
Second it.
Thank you, Donna. But for anyone watching from home, right, if you're the primary property owner right? You don't pay any taxes, but anyone that's not a primary property owner, for us to get that million back, just got a 328% tax increase, or we have to increase your insurance tax by some insane amount, or the payroll tax by some insane amount, or we just say, sorry that you died, Mrs. Fort Wright, because the ambulance didn't get there because we had to cut those people, or whatever. I mean, again, the whole thing's nuts. So we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
So one last comment on that. I did send out that spreadsheet to all of the other, I didn't make it to the last mayor's group meeting, but I did send out our analysis to all of the other local mayors that I have an email address for, which is virtually all of them. And interestingly enough, I heard nothing on this. I don't know why people don't seem to be up in arms on this. Again, there's no city that would not have an enormous reduction in their revenue, some of which I think would be existential. Again, Bromley, all they got is property tax, you know?
Didn't some of these Boone County politicians author this?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
And you gotta think, try to look down the road a little bit. Are they trying to eliminate the small cities and consolidate power in Frankfurt? I mean,
don't
that's what this leads to, right?
Some cities would not survive. I don't see how they could. But, this is like got a groundswell of support in all kinds of states. Florida's House voted 80-30 on something like this. But Florida has, the way they do taxes is a little different. I don't know that it would be quite as devastating.
They have the huge tourism tax,
Yeah.
and then the property one you're talking about in Florida does not include anything for schools or anything else, so, it's just their property tax.
Well, I appreciate your all support on this. I'm a little stumped by why other cities don't seem to be as concerned about it, especially since we gave them the fuel by doing our own analysis and saying, this is what it would cost us, you should see what it would cost you. But I got crickets for what that's worth. But again, the message I got was it's not going anywhere, at least in this session.
Good.
So,
Good.
okay.
Some of those places like Florida, they have all the tourism, and they can slap huge hotel taxes and food taxes, and like they do in Nashville. I mean, the Nashville local taxes are just ridiculous. They can do it.
But even that, how does that get back to the city? They just say, here are your crumbs, city of Fort Wright? I don't want to be in a position where we have to go down and kiss the governor's ring to get our little crumbs back here to make sure our ambulance can get out.
Yeah, but
And I'm not saying because of Andy Brashear, I'm saying any governor. I don't want to see any more consolidation of power in Frankfurt than they already have, because at the end of the day, in my opinion, thankfully, due to great leadership up to this point, including all of you, we are in a very financially, an exceptional financial position. As you heard our auditor say, we can run the city for 18 months with zero income. So why would we want to be beholden to someone else? Why would we want to have Frankfurt come up with new taxing mechanisms and say, all right, Fort Wright, here's your crumbs, we get an alms for the poor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I'm out on that. So anything that reduces our ability to make our own decisions here, I'm generally going to be against.
Yes.
Period, whatever it is.
I agree.
So, okay, last one.
Resolution 06, 2026, a resolution of the City of Fort Wright expressing support for House Bill 589 relating to the reemployment of retired firefighters. This creates a new section of KRS Chapter 95, allowing cities to employ qualified retired firefighters who previously participated in the Firefighters Foundation Program Fund or retired pursuant to KRS Chapter 95 with at least 20 years of service credit, no pending administrative charges, and compliance with the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority separation requirements. The only thing I want to point out about this, this is a bill that came out of the city of Edgewood, and I think their community worked very closely with our state representatives to get this bill and get it traction with the league and in the General Assembly. There are some rumblings that they're going to make some changes to the language of the bill as far as it relates to healthcare contributions for retired firefighters, and it somehow parlays over into the reemployment and rehiring of police officers. Okay. If they start dabbling with that language, we then are going to be very concerned about that, because we do not want it to impact the rehiring of retired police officers. And there is some concern between the sheriff's department and the sheriff's association, the chiefs association, that this would be a potential issue and could hurt our SRO programs. That's if they tinker with the language. If the bill goes through as written and as submitted originally, I think we should be very much in supportive of it. But if it changes anyway in the language of it, then we need to be concerned. I just want to point that out.
Well, let me throw out a couple other things, also, especially for folks watching from home, and again, Donna, you're new to some of this, you may not know some of this terminology. SRO is School Resource Officer. So, originally when I saw this, it seemed like a no-brainer to me. And I would point out again, going back to the audit and the pension liability and all that, one of the huge benefits of being able to hire retired personnel is it's a lot less expensive for us, right? They're getting their health care, we're not paying the pension costs. So, whenever possible, we've tried to rehire quality people within the confines of the system because it's a gigantic cost saver. Plus, they're already trained. If they've worked here before, they know our system. So, to me, again, seemed like a no-brainer if you could do the same thing in the fire department that we've been able to successfully do with the police department for some time. Again, we got Jill and I both, while we were down there, got some feedback. I won't mention the people, but from people that I personally trust, which then kind of got me thinking maybe this isn't such a good idea. Again, assuming it doesn't change and create this situation where it would impact the police thing, it feels like a no-brainer to me.
And the only thing I would say is I talked to Edgewood, I talked to the league, and they specifically said if there is a language change, that the representative who sponsored the bill would be pulling it from the floor or withdrawing it. We followed up to make sure that was really going to be a viable option. We think that is the case. So that is our understanding, that they will pull the bill and it won't be considered. But I think if you pass the resolution, we very specifically send it with the terminology that it is the bill as presented, and we don't support any changes to it.
So what do we want to do?
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution.
All right, motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second, Ross. So Weber and Ross, any additional discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
All right, motion carries, and that is all of our
If I could just
business
say
for the evening. Yes.
a little bit more about the legislative process. So session is winding down. I'm going to be very happy when that occurs. There've been a lot of bills that have been circulating around Frankfurt that are detrimental to local government. And we are very concerned about that. We're trying to monitor as many as we can. KLC, who does a phenomenal job for us, very grateful for the publications that they send and the work they do in Frankfurt. But they have indicated that a lot of the housing bills that are floating around now or that are detrimental to local government, they think will be combined into one big bill, one big beautiful housing bill.
You got to
I
pass
guess.
it to know what's in it, right?
So, they don't think that that will have traction if that happens. So, that might slow things down a little bit for us in terms of some of the bills we're monitoring that we're concerned about. There was that occupational bill, that was withdrawn and then refiled by Senator Williams. We're still monitoring that.
Is that 495?
It was House Bill 495.
Yeah, it's got a
when
different number,
Representative
now it's a
Deeds
Senate
filed it.
bill.
It's a different number now, because
Okay.
she withdrew it, so
Yeah.
it's still out there, we're still concerned about it.
What
We
is
are
the new
still,
number, you know?
I'll have to go back.
Yeah, that's fine.
So at the last, several weeks ago, we sent letters for, 5 or 6 pieces of legislation that we were concerned. I don't have any updates on them this evening. Some have moved through to the next House or Senate for action. Some have been stuck in committee, so we'll continue to monitor those and give you updates also. Between now and the next meeting, though, if we send things out, you might need to contact our legislators directly. If there's a bill that you're particularly concerned about, the league will send those, or the mayor and I will try to send updates to you.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, obviously, each one of you can and should voice your own opinions to these folks. If you need their contact information, I can get it to you if you don't have it. And I would say, to anyone that's still watching this now almost 3-hour-long meeting, if you hear us talk about these things or you see other things you're concerned about, you can go to the LRC website. You just look up Kentucky Legislature. You can get the contact information. Reach out to your reps and let them know what you're thinking. Again, I think we're very fortunate that the two people that represent Fort Wright, Senator Chris McDaniel and Representative Stephanie Dietz, are great friends of the city of Fort Wright, do a great job for us. You heard earlier, the judge mentioned that it was really the great work by Senator McDaniel to get the money that made this whole redevelopment project possible. I did talk to him at length. I'm sure he was tired of hearing from me on House Bill 75, because I happened to catch him at a time where he was standing there by himself. I'm like, Chris McDaniel, lucky you. You're about to get the Dave Hatter treatment on House Bill 75, brother. But yeah, reach out. Let these folks know what you're thinking. And again, I would just encourage anyone that might still be watching this or watching later, home rule is a good thing. Home rule means the state lets us make the decisions on your behalf. And if you don't like those decisions, it's a lot easier to get rid of me or any one of the 6 people sitting here than it is to get rid of the people in Frankfurt. So when you hear the term home rule, that's really what it's referring to, the idea that they're taking a light touch and letting your local government make decisions rather than come in and say like, well, you have to allow 15 chickens or whatever it is. I mean, and I'm a big proponent of, I live here because I like the decisions these people make. So, home rule is good. You want home rule. Okay, if there's nothing else, committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? I know we've been here for a long time.
I'll chop it down a bunch. We met with Joe from Red Tree. Basically, right now, I'll skip a bunch of stuff just to highlight. Our average return on everything that we got with him is 4.07%. So that's not bad. The other thing is that 45% of what we've got comes due. So it'll come due and then we'll have to reinvest it. The thought is that when that happens, it may be a little lower than what we've got now. Given that, what was I going to tell you about? Given that we talked about some things that I'll bring up in the caucus meeting when we have the caucus meeting about some other ways of trying to invest the money that may help the city in general. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to go over that with Dave and with Bernie ahead of time, so if they're on board with it, and then we'll talk about it in the caucus meeting, and then we can go down that road if we decide to do that. So that's all I got.
Questions for Jay? If not, I just want to make, I got one question, Jay.
Yeah.
Would you say at this point, so, again, I've always been a big fan of this investment program. I think it's been a huge win. I really appreciate the work Jay and Bernie have done on this to the Finance Committee. But, my take on this is it's been an unqualified success. It's thrown off an enormous amount of new revenue for us rather than just letting the money sit in the bank. And I think by any objective measure, this was a smart decision and continues to produce good revenue for the city.
Right.
So, yeah, big win, I think.
And Jay, I don't know if you mentioned, I'm sorry, I was reading ahead. So our initial investment was $3 million. We're at $3,236,000. So you've made just on the investment with Red Tree $236 million to date.
36,000.
I'm
If
sorry,
only,
236.
if we only made 236 million.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it's getting late.
Wait a
It's a
minute.
no-brainer, just go back.
Yeah.
We're good,
Wait a
next.
minute.
It's late.
Is Hillary Clinton involved in these
yeah,
decisions?
sorry.
This sounds like a Clinton deal. Only the
236,000.
Clintons can produce that kind of revenue.
$236,000, you have $3 million invested. So that's just on what we have invested with Red Tree. We tracked, and I don't have the number in front of me, but we had tracked over the last 7 or 8 years that we've been doing investments entirely. At one point, I think we were at $800,000 in interest. So it has been definitely a success for our community.
It surprised me when we mentioned it, but we've been with it for 5 years now, so it's been that long. We're getting old.
Yeah, but it's a great, I think you guys have done a great job and,
Some of our contemporary cities around here, are they doing the same thing?
Fort Mitchell has gone with them. 2 other cities have gone with them. Covington is doing their own. They're doing consulting with Covington because Covington has got in trouble.
What?
So, I don't want to get into the details. It's not right for me to do that, but,
KLC has a competing program.
Yeah.
Like so many of the things, like KLC has insurance. They've got all kinds of programs that you could take advantage of as a member. you know, again, we elected to go this route because we felt like it was a better fit for us, so.
And early on, KLC has gotten better since they've gone down, but early on, we were doing much better than KLC was offering, because they were making some mistakes. So
And to answer your question, from my standpoint, you know, the administrators that I communicate with, I feel confident that every community that has a professional city administrator is doing some sort of investing of their funds,
Yes.
whether interest-bearing CDs or, you know, something that's.
And we do stuff, and Jill does stuff that's in addition to this. You know, we've got 3,200,000 some here, but we've got other monies elsewhere. And then her and, they go through just determining what kind of dollars they need to pay checks. Everything else, they go in and do cedars and other stuff that they put their money into, so.
Do we need to consider at some point a cap on how many months we can run the city with those funds?
Well,
You know what I mean? We
Yes,
talked
you
about
bring up a real good point, and I know folks are probably tired here tonight, so I think we should put this on the agenda for the next council meeting. Keep in mind, now, I'm not an attorney, Brooke, correct me if I go astray, and you may not know all the ins and outs of this, but, yeah, the way I've always understood this is, you can't ultimately tie the hands of a future council, you know? So, you could say, we're gonna set the limit at X, and as long as you 6 people are making the decisions, you adhere to that. But, you know, as soon as the members change over, they can do whatever they want. This is one of the reasons, Margie, why, I wish Bernie were here because it gets him fired up every time. I was for a street tax, okay? A separate street tax, because once you put a tax initiative on the ballot and people vote on it, I'm gonna use another one of my favorite terms from Al Gore, the inventor of the information superhighway, the lockbox, right? Once it's on the ballot and residents vote for it, if you say the money has to be spent on streets, then it can only be spent on streets, right? And back when we were having all these financial problems and we were doing all this different stuff with taxes and raising taxes and stuff, you know, we tried the street tax through the ballot twice. Again, I was in favor of it, not because I wanted to raise taxes, but because I could at least guarantee the money would fix streets, you know? But if your broader point is, do we have too much residents' money that's not being put to use? My answer is yes. And I think we need to, A, look at another significant tax cut, and/or B, spend more of that money on infrastructure.
Right.
Because, I mean, you heard him say, GFOA, whatever that stands for, saying you need at least 3 months. Well, we got 6 times that,
Yeah.
you know?
And then
So-
we invested in infrastructure.
Yeah.
Then we get closer to our point of it being less expensive because we're doing fewer replacements. We catch up.
So one of the things, and I can answer this very quickly for you maybe, and you might still have questions, but we are always trying to constantly balance how much money we have in cash flow, how much we can flip over into the Cedars investments for higher interest. We'll move money from the general fund into investment funds because we want to earn a higher interest rate. So it's always working for us. We just increased the Cedars funds. We had to renew those back in January, if you remember. We negotiated a little bit over a 3% yield on those for a 26-week period. But at the end of that 26-week period, we're going to have to decide what we think the market's going to do, you know, the remainder of the year. Of course, the war is going to impact that significantly. We do always try to look at the liquidity of these things. We talked with Joe tonight about the term in which we're doing investments. We've been sticking to about 2-year terms. He was estimating we go to about 2.5 year terms. And one of the things we specifically talked to him about is making sure we're not investing too far where it would hinder a future council from using ththese funds for certain purposes. One of the projects that you have forthcoming, and it's going to be on the caucus for the next meeting, Marty is going to come from Verdantis because we have the Mount Vernon project. Is a very expensive road project to the tune of about $3 million. It's broken down over a period of time. So you're gonna get them apparently.
We're gonna give you heated streets.
So
Save you a
we
little-
hadn't
save you a little
had a
work,
chance to talk about that. But your road project coming up for the next term is very, very expensive. If you're going to move forward with that, we're gonna have some assets liquid to do that. Now, one of the things we again talked about tonight is investing another $1 to $2 million with Red Tree. for a 2-year period, because at the end of that 3-year period, by the time we do some of these projects that are coming on with the the sidewalk project, the funds are already allocated for that though, but, just the volume of projects, capital improvement, new equipment, things that you have coming, we need to be concerned about that. So anything that would be an additional tax decrease, I'm always concerned
I
about.
was gonna bring it up in the caucus, since you mentioned it. The idea was, he could give us a higher return than we're getting on the Cedars right now. We were talking about maybe putting $2 more million worth in. And that way, we would get a 0.5% higher than what we were getting with
Came
the
out to
Cedars.
6 basis points is what you said, so it was basically 3.5% versus 3%, so,
Right.
and it's a significant saving, or an increase on 3%, so we are constantly looking at those
Yeah,
things.
so I wanted to run that by Dave and run it by Bernie before we actually get into it. But, again, when we do that, we'll bring it before you guys to say yay on it, or nay, whatever.
But I think that was a really good point, Margie, because we want to make
Yeah.
sure that we have money available for these large capital projects. But we've tried to build funds for them so that it's earmarked for future purchase, like the ambulance, those funds are already allocated in that fund.
I would just say this, from a philosophical standpoint, I think we have too much money just sitting there. I am in favor of a solid rainy day fund, so that, you know, should something bad happen, like a year's worth of revenue, I think just makes sense, because we are providing critical life-saving services to people. Once you get out past the year, it gets kind of questionable in my mind, and, you know, having a large amount of money also makes more money on its own, right? So
Exactly.
I
It's a
think,
catch-22.
yeah, you gotta do the financial analysis of it, you know? But in general, I think 18 months of reserves is too much. And whether it's a tax cut or more infrastructure spending or some combination of all of the above, I think we need to cut that number substantially.
What'll happen is, even though you got this money, and I understand the philosophical idea of it's too much, but that's you're earning income from that. And that income goes to the expenses that the city's having, which is what caused some of it. So if you cut that down, you're not gonna have that income, so you're gonna be stretched on another side, maybe. Well, we have to run the dollars. We'd have to run figures.
Here's a question I have. Let's say we put $40,000 to the county's navigator system. That leaves us with, round numbers, $200,000 sitting there that we're trying to figure out what to do with. Can we buy a CD with that?
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to buy a CD, that's our money's already invested.
Okay, good.
Every account that you have is tied to an investment of some capacity, whether it's just interest-bearing at the bank, or, and I'm sorry, let me make a correction, not every account you have. You have 2 accounts. One is a payroll account that we carry 0 balance on.
See, Kathleen?
This isn't riveting?
You're leaving at an apt time.
She's apt to leave.
Yes.
So we have a payroll account that is not interest-bearing, we keep a 0 balance in it, and we just flow money into it at payroll. And then now we have a new bank account called Roll Call. It is not an interest-bearing account either, it is just for police details, it's just house money, and it flows into the main general fund. So every other account that you have is interest-bearing in some capacity, and, yeah, we're investing it. And like I said, Naoka watches it, she'll send me regular, if the general fund gets to be too hefty, she'll send me an email, and I'll move money from that fund into one of the investment funds, so it's higher interest earning.
Okay, so we'll put that on the caucus agenda and have a more in-depth discussion, and can try to do some additional, more detailed financial analysis to have better information for you guys for that.
We need to have a better idea on, like, for example, Parks and Recreation on that committee and what we're going to do. You know, I'm just thinking, if we do that next month, are we really gonna have all the information we need to really take a look at that?
I think we have some of it, so I was making a list while you were talking. So some of our large expenditures coming up are Mount Vernon, the sidewalk on Dixie Highway, the new salt dome, the new rec center, and the new playground, and the new ambulance. So we've got some pretty hefty capital projects coming, that will, you know, I generally have some rough estimates for these numbers already, for these projects.
Those investments over the next 5 years? You know what I mean? Like how it's gonna impact the
How
budget
it
over the next
will.
5 years?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can get some estimates together for that.
Yeah, and Donna, since you're still kind of new to all this, if you want to go to a finance committee meeting or whatever, make yourself at home, or, talk to Bernie and Jay about what they got going on, you're certainly welcome to get as deep into that as you want to. Okay, department reports. I know we've gone a little bit long on the tooth here. Administration, you guys got anything? Admin, finance? Okay.
The only thing, Mayor, I would like to add to that is I have been working with Jeff to get Maddox scheduled for the landscaping projects. The contracts have been signed. That project is going to start soon. And other than that, please take a look at my written report that I've submitted to you.
Okay.
You've been on the plans.
Pardon?
You've been on the plans.
He has a problem with the salvia. I'll look at it again, I'll have to call you. They're out of that type of salvia. There's two other ones that he suggested. I'll give you a call.
Well, why don't you go next, Jeff? What's your report?
I covered everything in the road project stuff earlier, so I'm good, unless you got any
I'm
questions.
sorry, I do just want to add that I have put in your packet the 2026 calendar of events. I sent you calendar updates for most of those things. Jeff, since they're on you, I know you and Margie finalized the cleanup date. It is April 18th, correct? So that is not on the calendar, but I think I sent you a calendar invite for it already.
Chief Shuey, you got anything to add?
Just, I think I alluded to it earlier, the new paramedic firefighter full-time has been on for a little over a month now. He's fitting in very well, and I'll probably get him up here at the next council meeting for you to all meet him.
What's his name?
Glenn
Glenn Caminiti?
Caminati.
I can't, I slaughter his
Yeah.
last name every time.
And I'm probably saying it wrong, too.
Chief Caldwell, you got anything?
Just one thing, that Officer Capps finished his online portion of the academy. He reports to Richmond this coming Sunday.
Excellent, excellent. Brooke, you got anything?
About 20 minutes or so.
Is that all? I expected like a 2-hour report.
No, I don't have anything.
Thought you were gonna educate us on some legal issues.
I
of
could
some
do
sort.
that for a long time.
Yes, tell us about pensions.
Talk about SIRS.
All right, well, I think that's everything. Do we have any special announcements,
We
Jill?
do.
Here,
I
you
just
read it,
want
so I don't have to
to,
dig in there and find it.
To recognize Captain Griffin, who did a tour of the building for the children's home. They sent a very nice thank you letter acknowledging how well he worked with them in organizing, and that it was a great experience for the kids. So they were very happy to come and tour the facility. The only other thing I wanted to mention was shout out to the police department for hosting the women's self-defense class. We posted that. We had such a tremendous response. We had to close the class because we've got more people interested than we have spots available. So Chief, do you want to talk about that program?
Yeah, so I'll talk on why we had to shut it down first. So where it's being held is the training facility at the Kenton County Jail, which is a very, very large room. And we figured that the amount of people that tried to sign up to come, it would be a disservice to have everybody there at once. We could probably fit them all in, but you're not going to get the one-on-one contact. You're not going to get the best experience you can get unless we break it down into smaller groups. So we've got future dates coming. Basically, this course, a lot of people were asking online about if it was RAD. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for, but it's 15, 20 years ago, there was a way that, female cops were teaching these self-defense things for women to try and protect themselves.
Debbie Gardner.
What's that?
Debbie Gardner her and her husband back in the day, where she had the red, whatever the
Yeah,
red thing was.
yeah, that was very popular, but it was also very traumatizing to certain people, the way that they did it. Captain Griffin has been doing martial arts for pretty much the better of his whole life, and so he developed this course to make it very practical for anybody, and he does a very good job with it. We had a great experience years ago, probably closer to 5+ years ago, right before COVID is when we were really hammering this out a couple times a year. So we're happy to get back into it, and I did see online a couple of people that have taken it previously were raving about how it was a very good experience for them. So, yep, you were there. And, it was,
Margie, do you still remember the move from the Flintstones? Judo, chop, chop.
Honestly,
That's my move.
I went because my daughter was starting college, and so I signed her and I. Nobody wants to object to me.
Nobody's gonna mess with you anyway,
But,
so.
right, so,
yeah, I don't have the dates with me. My computer
good.
died, so I don't have the flyer on it, but, it is on the website and on social media. So contact Captain Griffin, if you want to RSVP for it. We'll get future dates out here as soon as we can.
Yeah, I know the reviews in the past have been awesome, and I appreciate you guys stepping up to the plate. I think this is a really excellent program. I'm happy you're doing it. And for those who didn't make the cut this time around, yeah, stay tuned, follow our social media. We'll get some more dates on the calendar and get you trained up.
Yeah, and we're taking the names in the order we got them. So that's just the simple way around it. First come, first serve, and then we'll reserve the rest, everybody else's contacts. We'll get in touch with everybody that reached out to us, and we'll get you a date.
Anything else? If not, council, anybody got anything, or we'll get out of here? I know it's been a long night. I appreciate everyone's patience. Okay, well, then do we have a motion to adjourn? Wait, shocker. I would have never, did not see
At
that
me, so I
coming.
figured I might as well do it.
Who's gonna second? Ross. So Collins and Ross, roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Weber? Yes. Ms. Witt? Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.